Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up podcast. It's Tuesday, 2 days before Thanksgiving, so we are going to have a super stuffed episode here as holidays not able to really record on Thanksgiving, so we're going to do everything here today on Tuesday. That's Nick. I'm Theo. Again, this is the Drafted Up podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter at DraftedUp_pod. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Search Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be there. Like, rate, subscribe, review, share. Word of mouth. As always, it's appreciative. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. Ready for some Thanksgiving football, some Thanksgiving food. Ready for this supersized, stuffed episode of Drafted Up Podcast. Oh, you boys ready?
That makes one of us, because I am freezing, and I might be getting the ick. I don't know. My body hurts, and I'm cold.
I passed it on to you.
Other than that, I feel great. But we'll see come tomorrow. But yeah, super stuff episode. I am excited for that. I'm not excited for the busyness of the holiday, but
the holiday season, super busy, dude.
Yeah, it's
not looking forward to that.
The worst, yeah, and it's
for sure
cold outside. All right, start with starts of the week, or do you want to start with our prospect spotlight for?
Don't matter to me, my guy. You tell me.
All right, let's save the prospect thing. We'll just do all the fantasy stuff first and end with the prospect.
Sounds good.
So, starts of the week, who do you got at quarterback?
My quarterback is none other than the man who ripped up the New York Football Giants last week, and it's Baker Mayfield. They got Carolina this week, so it's going to be another assumed blowout for Tampa Bay. And they had the weirdest offense. They were up 30, and I'm like, well, I had Kate Otten in our home league, so I'm like, Kate Otten's just never going to get the ball because they're not going to pass. They're up a bunch. And that didn't happen. They just kept throwing the hell out of the ball until they got into the red zone, and then they just started handing it off. They never once got down the field running, like at all. It was all Baker Mayfield, dude. And it was
because their running backs are inefficient.
Yeah, they are. So they're going to be out there slinging it to Mike Evans. And we'll get to the Tampa Bay and Kate Otten, but hopefully he's more involved this week than he was last week. But the Giants are the best first tight ends, so it all checked out that we ended up stopping him. But I expect Baker to have another huge week, possibly multi-touchdown game here versus Carolina. Carolina, you could do anything on them offensively. So the inept run game for Tampa Bay, they're going to be passing with Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield. Even the running backs expect to have a decent game in the run game and pass game. I'm all in on the Bucs this week. Baker Mayfield, start of the week at quarterback.
Yeah, it also helps that Carolina's a competitive team at this point. They are hanging in the football games. And, I mean, Patrick Mahomes had his best fantasy game of the season against Carolina in the near upset. But, yeah, Carolina, the fact that their offense is able to score, it's making it that the other offenses are actually fantasy relevant because of Carolina being so successful here of late.
Bryce Young has looked completely different since getting benched. Can't really say the same about Anthony Richardson. He's looked okay, but Bryce Young has seemed to turn it around a hell of a lot more. He's a completely looking different player than he was at the beginning of this year. Carolina hung in there with Kansas City. They were getting blown out a little bit, but they came back, and that just showed that Carolina didn't give up. They kept chugging along with Chuba Hubbard, Bryce Young, Adam Thielen, and they just put their head down and grinded, dude, and hung in there with arguably a top 2 team in football. So hopefully they're able to do the same here with the Bucs. You could score on the Bucs defense, so hopefully Baker Mayfield's out here balling out.
You could honestly make a case that Bryce Young, the last few weeks since he's been back into the starting lineup, has been the best looking second-year quarterback. Like, he's looked better than Stroud. Like, it's him and Levis. They've looked the best.
I would still take Stroud.
Well, no, I'm not talking about like overall. CJ Stroud has looked terrible. He's Sans Daniel Jones. He's got the worst touchdown to interception ratio of starting quarterbacks in football. CJ Stroud.
That's okay. Nico's
he's
been
in
out.
his own head.
Tank Dell's not the same receiver.
But Nico's been back the last 2 weeks, and CJ Stroud still looked bad.
Yeah, but Nico's still. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I would still say he's better than Bryce Young by 3,000 miles.
Bryce Young's looked better the last few weeks, though.
Sure. Who's winning? I mean, they lost to Tennessee, yes, but
I wasn't. I was talking about just looking good. CJ Stroud's not the reason they're winning football games, though. My start of the week is a second-year quarterback, and it is Anthony Richardson. I'm going back to the well against the New England defense. I did it last week. Tua Tagovailoa destroyed the Patriots. 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards. He looked incredible. I expect Anthony Richardson to be incredibly relevant for fantasy football this week against the said Patriots defense. The Patriots defense is one of the worst in football, and the Drake May, he's been keeping the Patriots somewhat in games, did not in Miami, but
no.
The defense in general, though, I don't think it matters if New England's in the game or not. Anthony Richardson has been leading the rushing attack in Indianapolis of late. He had 60 yards this past week. His passing work has been better, still has some accuracy issues, but he hasn't been turning the ball over, which is a plus for him. So I expect a huge game against a terrible Patriots team. I think you can lock Anthony Richardson as a top 12 quarterback this week.
I would not make that claim, but I do see the appeal. He's essentially taken Jonathan Taylor out of relevancy, which is a crime because Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in football, and Anthony Richardson has inept to give him the ball or check it down to him in any type. He had 0 targets, so he's not irrelevant at all, and that just really bums me out that you just can't use your elite talent. Even Michael Pittman not being used right. It bugs me what's going on there.
Led the team in targets this past week, did Michael Pittman. So it was good to see.
Yeah, I mean Josh Downs got hurt, so that's part of it. But
they both had
Anthony
7
Richardson.
targets though. Downs and Pittman. Pittman had a great game, 6 for 95 and a touchdown, I believe. I don't have his stats.
So that makes maybe 1 or 2 great games in the career with Anthony Richardson as his quarterback. It's bold. I don't like Richardson, but continue to running backs. Who do you got?
I'm going with the running back of your start of the week at quarterback. I'm going with Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He outsnapped Rachaad White this past week against the Giants, and he looked great. He had 6 catches for 60 yards, 12 carries for 87 and a touchdown. Bucky Irving was the better looking back on film. He's been better all season film-wise than Rachaad White. And honestly, Rachaad White to me fits better in a complementary role. And Bucky Irving has played his way into the role where he is demanding, touches in this offense. And it's deservedly so. He's been great this year, averaging almost 5.5 a clip. And the Giants are just down bad right now. Nobody wants to play there. They're just kind of going along. Coach has lost the locker room. They weren't great against, Tampa Bay, and Bucky Irving took advantage of it. And Carolina, who's been playing better, but they can't stop the run at all. You can do, like you said, whatever you want on this defense. They've been hanging in games. I expect Bucky Irving to be a beneficiary of the fact that Carolina can't stop the run, and then the fact that they're going to have to pass as well because Carolina's been scoring. So I expect the pass game involvement to still be there for Bucky Irving.
Yeah, and that's what's really the big difference there is like Bucky Irving's going to be more efficient through the run game on less carries. But White was always the receiving back regardless of what happened. White only had 1 catch last week. Irving took that from him essentially, and you and I watching him at Oregon, you've seen his skill set, his receiving work, his rushing ability. It all makes sense that he's just better than Rachaad White. Like, it is what it is at the end of the day. He's just a better football player, and talent gets you on the field. We've always talked about that throughout the process. If you're talented, you're going to find a way onto the field, regardless of whoever's in front of you. And it's shining right now for Bucky Irving, so I love that. I'm going to go with James Cook, Buffalo versus San Fran this week. Josh Jacobs killed San Fran last week. He had 2 tutties. The week before, Ken Walker had a touchdown versus San Fran. James Cook, the last 5 weeks, has 6 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. That's 6 touchdowns in 5 weeks. So I expect him to find his way back in the end zone here versus San Fran. James Cook is a touchdown machine this year compared to
The
last season.
complete opposite of last season.
And it's amazing. And he's also getting yards, and he's in the receiving work. He had 5 receptions last week, or 2 weeks because he had the bye week. But I fully expect him to be so involved here versus San Fran. He is almost the key to this offense here. He's used in the passing game. He's so involved in the rushing game. Obviously, it's Josh Allen, but you can't rely on no talent around you. Like, a quarterback's only as good as his line and his weapons. And James Cook is a superstar this year.
Mm-hmm.
You can lock him in. San Fran, they usually are a tough matchup. Not this year for running backs. They're a green matchup on paper. You can do whatever you want versus them. He had almost 20 points in full PPR versus Kansas City. And you can't run versus Kansas City. So I expect James Cook to have another monster week here.
Yeah, the Niners, the injuries have caught up to them, and the fact their defense, you can just run all over them. They need their depth has been a struggle here this year, and James Cook's a great matchup here. Hopefully the Niners can get healthy to make that a competitive game, but we'll see. But even if they can stop the run, James Cook's involvement in the passing game has been great this year for him, and he's been spectacular for Buffalo. Who you rolling out at wide receiver?
Oh, boy. Someone I've not spoken very highly of through even the whole offseason. And I love the guy. I just didn't love where he was being drafted at the back end of the 1, early 2. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. He's been super roller coaster all year. He's had the high spikes and he's had the low duds. But this matchup on paper, it's versus Minnesota. It's golden. You're not going to be able to run, so James Conner isn't going to have a great game. And he had a really weird week last week where they
7 carries for 8 yards, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. They kind of tucked him to the side, and like throughout the whole season, it's been ride or die on James Conner, regardless of the matchup. And you're not going to run versus Minnesota, so James Conner has to be involved in the pass game, but fully expect Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., even Michael Wilson to be heavily involved in the game script this week versus Minnesota. I expect a huge spike week for Marvin Harrison. At the end of the day, he's going to be in most lineups, but you haven't been happy with it. But you do have to look at, like, on paper, he's played the Jets, the Bears. He had a huge week versus Miami, and it's hard to pass versus Miami. Mm-hmm. But the games versus Chicago, you can't pass versus Chicago. It's really hard to pass versus the Jets, but he still had a decent week. Last week, though, like, Seattle's such a good matchup, and it didn't shine. So people are really doubting Marv now, but you can kind of – this is the game you can rely on, and I fully expect Marv to have 5-6 catches, hopefully a touchdown, and the higher end of 80, 90 yards. So I expect Marv to have a pretty nice week here.
Yeah, early on, Kyler was targeting Marvin Harrison, and then Seattle adjusted so well, and they were just pressuring Murray and stopping the run, so they couldn't get the run game open to open up the passing game, and it just became a lot of just dump-offs to Trey McBride for Arizona there. And also, I picked the Cardinals, so we should have expected that because they don't win if I'm picking them. My start of the week at wide receiver, I'm going with DeAndre Hopkins on Friday against the Las Vegas Raiders. Look, I get it. The Chiefs are 10-1, 11-1. They're 10-1. They're 10-1. Yet they don't feel like a 10-1 team. This team needs a statement game. And I think prime time, it's an island game against the Raiders on Black Friday, divisional game. And this is when the Chiefs start getting real hot. We're getting into the playoff season. I expect the Chiefs to go out there Friday and just light up Vegas. It could be Desmond Ridder out there or Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell gives them a better shot, but not much better. And if it's Desmond Ridder, the Chiefs could win this game by 25 plus points. And the Chiefs need this type of game. They've been playing all these close games, and I think they come out Friday off a almost loss to Carolina, only beating the Panthers by 1 point. They got to come out and just fires going, and I expect a huge game from DeAndre Hopkins and Patrick Mahomes this week. I think you can lock Hopkins in. I know he's been a little touch and go. This past week he did score a touchdown, which really helped because otherwise he was 4 for 36.
Yeah, it would have been rough.
So I think you can confidently put him in your lineup. Don't worry about how it's been going for Kansas City in terms of fantasy production for him, but lock him in against Vegas. I see his best game of the season. I am confident in DeAndre Hopkins. He's not a guy I'm rarely confident in. He's not a guy I like putting in my lineup, but I love him this week. I think the Chiefs need to come out, make a statement, and I think they do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the perfect piggyback into mine. It could be Hopkins, but I know it's going to be Travis Kelce. And he's my start of the week at tight end. I get it's Travis Kelce, you're going to start him, but tight ends have been horrendous all season. Look at Brock Bowers last week. It was a golden matchup, and he shit the bed. Any given week, tight ends can shit the bed. 2 weeks ago versus Buffalo, on paper, it should have been great for Kelce. He had 2 catches for 8 yards. So now you're looking at Kelce, you're like, oh, God, it is what it is. His first game versus Vegas this year already, he went 10 for 90 and a touchdown. I'm expecting huge targets for Kelce. Just like you said, this is going to be a statement game. I expect the Chiefs to come out here and they're like, oh, I get we barely beat the Panthers, but at one point they were up like 14. And it wasn't close. It didn't look close. And then the Chiefs grinded back, or the Panthers grinded back in. I don't see that happening here for Vegas. Gardner Minshew's out for the year. It's going to be Ritter or O'Connell, and it's going to be garbage. The Chiefs are going to destroy. I'm looking at this game like Detroit-Jacksonville, dude. It's going to be a bloodbath, I think. I fully expect Travis Kelce to have a mondo week. I'm looking at 10 catches, 100 yards, a touchdown, maybe even 2. I would start all your Chiefs as possible. Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are iffy. If Pacheco doesn't go, Kareem Hunt is a full-blown lock. Lock them all. Hopkins, Kelce, Mahomes, Hunt, if Pacheco doesn't go. Even Worthy in the flex if you really wanted to. The Chiefs are going to have a mondo week on Friday.
Yeah. I love all the Chiefs offense this week. My start of the week at tight end, Taysom Hill of the New Orleans Saints against the Los Angeles Rams. Hey, the Rams defense has been just okay this year. Dallas Goedert had a nice little game last week, but Taysom Hill's coming off 2 weeks ago. They had their bye this past week, but 2 weeks ago, he's coming off a 3-touchdown performance, and he's more than a tight end. He's a gadget guy. He's the backup running back. He's the backup quarterback. If the Saints want to win games, Taysom Hill is their best option. All their receiving options are out. Like Marquez Valdes-Scantling is the number 1 receiver for this offense, but Taysom Hill, you get the guy the ball and he does remarkable things with it when he's being utilized, and he's a roller coaster, but it's one where it's crazy. 8 catches for 50 yards, 138 total yards, 3 touchdowns against the Browns. The dude is a league winner if he hits. If he's in your lineup, he single-handedly wins you games. And I think going forward, Taysom Hill's a guy who you can plug in your lineup every week and just ride that ride, especially with all the weapons out in New Orleans. And I like him this week against the Rams.
And I agree. I don't think it's going to be it could be rough.
It's not going to be 138 yards and 3 touchdowns every week.
Exactly. There are going to be games where Taysom Hill just completely shits the bed, and he's not in the game plan. But my God, his games are going to be huge, and you want him. There are not many tight ends that can win you a week, and Taysom Hill is one of them. Expect him to have 2 or 3 rushes, a pass or 2. All of these opportunities to score fantasy points are on the table for Taysom Hill, where most tight ends are out here just getting 4, 5 catches, 40 yards, no touchdown. So their ceiling's 9-10 points. Taysom Hill could have that on one big play, dude. He like you said, he's a league winner. But you have to make sure you're hitting on that week, or if not, it's gonna be rough.
But he at the tight end position, I'm okay doing that. I
agree.
If I have a guy that can get me 20 plus points, I'll take that over the floor of an Evan Ingram per se, the special of 4 for 40. I'll take the shot on Taysom Hill.
I think it's nice this year because his floor is not really like Goose. His floor is 6, which is almost close to these other guys doing the 4 for 40. So his floor is almost normal tight end range. So Taysom Hill's a pretty good option the rest of the year.
Yeah. All right. Let's dive in to some holiday football. We got 3 games on Thursday and a game on Friday.
Real quick, starting off Thanksgiving, real quick. Name 1 fantasy player that you've been thankful this year. Just one. on the spot.
Trey McBride. I have a tight end that I can lock in my lineup and confidently know I'm getting a good amount of points from.
Hell yeah. I'm looking at mine as Jalen Hurts. I have him in so many leagues. I talked about him all offseason. He struggled a little bit with no A.J. Brown, but man, he's been carrying a lot of my teams to first place in our Dynasty League, first place in Ziffle. So Jalen Hurts is on both of those teams, baby boy. He's been riding me strong. Hey, yo. Not like that, Jalen.
Riding dirty. A different way.
Hey, yo.
All right.
That's my boy, though. I love me some Jalen Hurts.
Thursday, 12:30 Eastern time. You love to see it.
Oh, love it.
The
Early,
Chicago Bears travel to Detroit to take on the division-leading Detroit Lions, who are 10-point favorites at home, divisional game, an over-under of 48.5 points. The Bears on Sunday shouldn't have been in the game. They were down big going into the fourth quarter, and the Minnesota defense, in classic Kevin O'Connell coach fashion, just kind of stopped playing football, and the Bears got back into the game and took it into overtime, where they ended up ultimately losing to Minnesota. Bears offense has looked better since getting rid of Shane Waldron. Thomas Brown's doing a good job of just putting Caleb Williams, having him run around, but there's still deficiencies there. The offensive line's not good. Caleb Williams tends to play hero ball still. You're seeing that coming through from
the Bears fans should be very
game.
Thankful for the offensive coordinator switch. It's been a completely different offense, dude.
Yeah. Keenan Allen
DJ Moore was almost my start of the week.
DJ Moore looked great last week. He ripped
almost my start
Minnesota.
of the week at receiver.
So high upside there for Marvin Harrison if he does anything close to what DJ Moore did against the Vikings, even what Keenan Allen did. Keenan Allen was picking apart Minnesota as well.
Yep.
Detroit's a different animal, though. Their offense
pass on them, though.
is
you got to keep up with them.
Yeah, their offense is special.
Their offense is the best offense I've seen in so long, dude.
There's no weakness of this offense. They have an elite offensive line. They have a great running game. They have good receivers. They have a good enough quarterback in Jared Goff. He's been great, but he's also
Sam Laporta, dude. He's just
he's just doing
like
nothing.
The cherry on top. He was tight end 1 going into the fantasy season.
Yeah,
he hasn't been good at all, but man, he's still a good target. He's a real life good option, and they'll be the third option in the passing game. Like, what are we talking about here in Detroit, dude? It's killer.
The Lions. You're going to start all your Lions this week. JMO.
You starting Laporta?
Maybe not JMO. It's tough to pass on Chicago.
That's
their strong point. So, JMO, I would, if I didn't have a better option, I guess I'd put him in, but he'd be the one that's kind of like on the border. Laporta, I'm probably not playing him.
I would go JMO over Laporta.
Well, yeah, I don't want to.
I'm saying if you have to start one of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Sam Laporta doesn't really give you a ceiling.
No.
Jameson Williams does.
He's had 2 good games in a row. Decent games in full PPR, that is.
And Amon-Ra, obviously, lock him in. Both running backs.
Have to. Yep.
Jared Goff's the one I'm not playing. Just because he just kind of middles his way around. Like, I'd rather have a big Jared Goff game on my bench than get the Jared Goff game where he has 1 touchdown in my starting lineup.
Yeah. There is a chance Montgomery doesn't play. He's been limited all week, and he did get hurt last week. I expect him to go, but short week, he's not. Come on, like, is he really needed? Just give the guy a week. I would understand if they want to. Like, you have the talent around him that you don't need Montgomery on the field. Kind of like they did with Laporta. He could have played that one game they sat him because they didn't need the talent out there.
Yeah.
So just watch Montgomery. He might not play.
If Montgomery doesn't play, Jahmyr Gibbs might be
Gibbs is RB1.
Yep. RB1 on the week, just total. Yep. If Montgomery's not out there, I'm more confident playing Jameson Williams. Like,
even Laporta, I agree.
Yeah,
I'm confident.
Like, I understand Chicago's tough to pass on, but there's no offense like the Detroit Lions in the National Football League. So the Bears defense isn't at the level where it scares me from playing my Lions. But if I did have a better option, like I would play Calvin Ridley over Jameson Williams. Trying to think of other guys. Like, I would play Jameson Williams
for sure.
Yeah, I would play Cortland Sutton. I would play Jameson Williams over like Devontae Adams. It would be
That's
real.
tough. What
Like
about
Adams
Brian
has a
Thomas
good
Jr.?
matchup. If Trevor Lawrence is playing, I would play Brian Thomas Jr. over Jameson Williams. If it is
That is
Mac
the correct
Jones,
answer.
no thank you. I will
That is the
I will
correct
play
answer.
Khalif
Yep.
Raymond over Brian Thomas Jr.
He also got hurt in the game. You got to watch out for that.
That was a joke. Anyways, I wouldn't play Khalif Raymond over BTJ.
Neither that, but he might actually miss this game for sure, which Tim Patrick then for deep leagues kind of opens up. Like I'm talking 14, 16 deep leagues. Don't look at Tim Patrick.
Or Dynasty.
Or Dynasty, yeah. Like don't look at Tim Patrick if you're in a normal 12-team league.
Yeah.
But good options here in Detroit to go around.
The Bears, I like
both the receivers, dude.
I was gonna say, you said DJ Moore was almost your start of the week.
He was.
I would plug him in, no problem. Keenan Allen, I would put him in the same boat as Jameson Williams. I'd be on the fence about him. Like I would start Jameson Williams over Keenan Allen if we're going straight from this game. But again, I'm not gonna squeeze him out of my lineup if I can't find another guy to put in.
Man, I think I would lean Keenan Allen over JMO. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
2 weeks in a row, he had 15 targets last week, and then he didn't do great versus Green Bay, but it's hard to pass versus Green Bay, and he had 8 targets. He brought in 4 for 40. So I kind of expect, like, I think his floor is like 6 catches on like he could have 15 targets again. Like, they're gonna be slinging the rock here in Detroit.
Yeah, you're going once again a better floor guy, and I'm taking the upside guy.
That is true. That is very true.
The classic. The question with the Bears, though, really is...
I'm very safe, and you're like high upside.
How you feel about DeAndre Swift?
Not thrilled, to be honest, especially versus Detroit.
I'm not playing him.
Your only hope is like checkdowns, and he's not terribly involved. His high catches on the year 7, which is nice, but he's done games where he's had 0 targets, 1 target, 2 targets. Yeah, I'm cool sitting Swift this week.
Yeah, I would, especially no buys, so you're really not scrambling to find dudes to put in your lineup. Like I'm finding ways.
Bye weeks this week?
No bye weeks this week. No bye weeks on a holiday for the NFL, and then next week we got 6 again.
Yeah, that's cool. A whole bunch of talent. No fucking final week of the fantasy season. We get it. Yep. We get it, NFL. You hate us.
Yeah. Anything else in this game besides a winner?
No, it's Detroit.
And Detroit wins. I agree. The afternoon game, after you're all full and eaten, this is the nap game.
A normal person's nap game, but when you're a Giants fan, baby, it's not.
The New York Giants travel to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. An over-under of 37 points.
I think that's Cowboys pretty high.
The Cowboys are favored by 3.5.
Dallas. You got up. That's rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up, Vegas. Come on.
Dallas just beat Washington in a wild fourth quarter game.
Yeah.
The rest of the game was
shootout.
You could ignore it. Mm-hmm. If that game was just the fourth quarter, would have been a great football game.
Tremendous.
And the Giants looked abysmal versus Tampa Bay, and I honestly believe Brian Daboll is going to be fired just because he has lost this locker room. And I just don't think the players, I don't think no matter what you do in the offseason, I don't think the players are going to want to play for this guy.
It kind of seems that way, but
I think Brian Daboll's a good coach.
If you're going to fire
Joe
one
Shane
of them,
should be fired too.
Fire Joe Shane in a heartbeat. Give a new GM 1 year with Daboll. Give him a quarterback. Like, I'm praying, dude. I don't want Daboll to hit the market. As a Giants fan, I get it. But why did people go into this game expecting Tommy DeVito to be the fixture? Like, did people actually think we're not tanking? We are actively tanking.
Okay, but players don't want to think that. So and they loved Daniel Jones.
But even like New York, media, even the media was like, "Oh, the Giants looked so bad with the quarterback change." Of course we did. That's what they want.
They're buying into that DeVito from last year, where he was just so fun and wild.
He took me out of the running of Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May.
Yeah, speaking of Drake May, if Brian Daboll gets fired, I fully expect New England to fire their offensive coordinator and bring Brian Daboll in. I think him with Drake May would be great, because I don't think New England fires Jared Mayo. But
no, I agree. But that's what Mayo needs, though. Mayo needs someone to come in there and call the offense. Yeah. Like, Mayo's not going to be that guy. Brian Daboll is that dude.
Yeah. The other side of the ball, Dallas, Jerry Jones today said that there's a chance they give Mike McCarthy an extension. Like he said, that's not out of the realm of possibilities, which is dumbfounded But
Ooh, as a Giants fan, I love that news.
Dallas, Cooper Rush has looked better the last 2 games. He's really utilizing CeeDee Lamb, so CeeDee Lamb owners can rejoice and not have to worry about their superstar first round pick dudding out on them there.
I
But
think he's a really good stream option. I'm not going to lie to you.
Cooper Rush,
Yeah.
If there was bye weeks, I'd be in on Cooper Rush as a potential streaming option, but with a full slate of games. 2 QB leagues though, if you want to dive into that, I'd be cool sliding Cooper Rush into my lineup.
6-point touchdown leagues. He's gone 26 his first game and then 24 last week. He actually stepped it back down with the 2 touchdowns versus Washington. They're slinging the ball a bunch. The Giants are bad, dude. And they really don't have a run game, so I expect another...
Rico Dowdle had 80 yards on Sunday.
Yeah, I get it, and I wouldn't start him.
Oh, I'd start him. I'd start Rico Dowdle against you guys.
I'd flex
Look what
him.
the Bucks running backs just did to you guys.
Yeah,
Rico Dowdle.
Dallas can't do that. Like, Tampa has been running all season.
4.5 per clip, 86 yards on 19 carries. Look what Dallas does when they have an efficient run game.
But
they
even
won.
that game, he still only barely had 10 points. And I think that's what we're going to get. Like,
he didn't score a touchdown.
I didn't expect him to score. I still don't.
I think against you guys, it's plausible. It's funny. I looked up Rico Dowdle to get the official numbers, and his ESPN picture is Ezekiel Elliott.
That is hilarious. Oh, my God.
The disrespect for Rico Dowdle. I'm cool with Rico Dowdle as a low-end RB2 flex guy this week.
I'm looking at him as like a flex guy. I wouldn't go more than anything than a flex guy.
Like, I'd play him over Javonte Williams. I made the mistake last week and played Javonte Williams over Rico Dowdle. And
well,
Javonte
we'll
Williams,
get to Javonte Williams. He literally had 8 carries for -2 yards. So,
yeah.
What are we talking about here?
I would play Rico Dowdle over DeAndre Swift.
That's really close. But yeah, he's a better odds. It's a better matchup. But they're both low-end flex guys in my head.
Yeah. You fucking with Luke Schoonmaker? I don't know if Jake Ferguson's going to be back.
No.
I would expect him not to be back.
No. I'm looking at what we did to K-Dot, and none of these guys can stack up to K-Dot in this year. So
yeah, and with no buys, I'm not willing to fiddle with the Schoon man.
I wrongly went against the Giants defense and tight ends last week, so I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Would you play Schoonmaker over, say, Dalton Kincaid?
I don't think Dalton Kincaid should be a starting tight end at this point anymore. So no. Oh, God, no. Neither of those guys. There's no other options out there. What are we talking about? Jonnu's not out there. Taysom Hill's not out there. What kind of league is this, though?
So I'm going by. So say like I have Jonnu Smith and he just sits on my bench in our home league.
I start Jonnu over many tight ends. Yeah,
but say like a guy like me, I had Trey McBride, so I just picked Jonnu up because I needed a tight end, and now I'm just not dropping him. Whereas Dalton Kincaid owners, he had the bye last week and he was hurt the week before that. They may have now been scrambling for a tight end. Maybe they picked up Schoonmaker this past week. He had a good game, and they could ride with him. I would still lean Kincaid if I had to play one of those guys.
I would as well. I agree.
Yeah, but I would go Hunter Henry over both of them. Chances are Hunter Henry's probably 100%. Out there.
Shit, Austin Hooper had a better week than Hunter Henry did last week, and he's still on the table as well.
And I would probably go Will Dissly over them.
I was just about to bring up Will Dissly. I would start Will Dissly over both of them in a heartbeat.
Even though he had just an okay game special on Monday.
He had the Evan Ingram special, baby.
So Dallas, it's really CeeDee Lamb, and then I'm higher on Dowdle than you. I'm willing to start Rico Dowdle. Yeah. And for the Giants, it's Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy. Maybe Tyrone Tracy, who fumbled again.
I know, it's killing me. He's really fucking killing me with the fumbles, dude.
Even with the fumbles, I don't see them taking work away from him just because Devin Singletary's just a guy. I don't think he has any importance to this team going forward. Whereas Tyrone Tracy could be this team's future running back for the next couple seasons. So I think they're still going to pile on the work for him. I don't think You
can't really look at last week Tampa Bay
loses end zone stuff.
But Singletary did have a touchdown.
Yeah.
Singletary ended up in the end zone, and Singletary played 35% of snaps, and Tracy played 41% of snaps. But again, we were down 30-0. It's a blowout. You're not going to run. But that still worries me that Tracy's not out there for like the third down receiving back role all the time. Like, if we're getting blown out regardless, he should be out there because he can catch a ball. He was a legitimate receiver in college.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he not just our running back? I would start him over Dowdle.
I agree. Yeah.
So I would still start Tracy if need be. Neighbors is still in your lineup regardless of whatever's happening there. Yeah. He's not thrilled to be there right now, so I'm pretty worried.
Yeah. And you're not messing around with Wandale. I'm not. Full slate of games. I'd rather play any of the Bears. I'd rather play any of the Bears receivers.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're down bad, but deep 14-team leagues, you could start him in flex. He's going to get 5 for 50. He's
keep PPR only. I'm not playing him in a half 100%. Or no PPR.
100%. If you're doing half point PPR or no point, you don't start Wandale. Don't even roster him. He's only good at full point PPR. That's what he's good for.
Who wins this game on Thursday?
Dallas.
I agree. Cowboys win. The New York Giants currently hold the first pick of the draft. So
we did it, baby.
Yeah, you did it. So here's the game. Tommy DeVito wins.
Ugh. I'd be so mad. Like, if Dallas can beat Washington, theoretically, they should be able to curb stomp us. But football, dude, any given Sunday, it's what it is.
Well, Dallas also always beats you guys. So.
Oh, yeah. We haven't beat Dallas since like 2015, I think, something like that.
Since Nam. All right. Thursday night football. The Miami Dolphins travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Packers are 3.5-point home favorites and over under of 47 points. The Dolphins are hot. Mm-hmm. And it may be too little too late for them, but I would not count them out as potentially getting the last spot in the AFC for the playoffs. I think it's really coming down to them, Denver, and I guess Cincinnati, but the Bengals are a trip in their own right. But talent-wise, the Bengals could run the table and make the playoffs, but
theoretically,
chances are they don't do that because they're a poorly coached franchise.
Yeah.
But Miami, we'll see. This is the proving game. If they lose this game, they're, in my eyes, essentially out of the playoff run. And tough matchup against Green Bay, who's been great. But this should be a really good game.
Yeah, no, I agree. You got a bunch of options to go through. So let's start with the quarterbacks. Which one do you think is going to have a better game? Tua, Jordan Love?
I think Tua.
I kind of agree.
I do. Miami's defense has been really good this year. Packers' defense has been not as good as Miami's. But like Miami's, our worries with their defense was like, oh, teams weren't passing on them because they didn't have Tua. That's why they're not giving up fantasy points. Well, since Tua's been back, only really Arizona had passing success against this team. Mm-hmm. So, and Green Bay, who knows if Jair Alexander is going to be there. I think Miami's just on a heater, and I think Tua's a good play this week. I would play him over Jordan Love.
I agree. He's had 11 touchdowns since he's come back, 1 interception. That is a great range, and it's been turning up.
Jordan Love's probably had 11 touchdowns and 11 interceptions.
That is true. It's probably pretty close. But the last 2 games, 7 touchdowns, 300 yards last week, almost 300 yards the week before. Tua's been tearing it up, dude, and I don't think it's going to stop, to be honest.
I agree. Really, Green Bay, like Jordan Love's a fine play. I have him outside my top 12. Yeah. Josh Jacobs is a lock.
100%.
That dude has been balling. Yeah, Achan, he's the best running back on that team and like only one who's doing any sort of efficient work. Like Jalen Wright's been not great, and Raheem Mostert can't even see the field anymore.
Yeah, Mostert. Achan's done double digits every week since the bye in full point PPR, 20 points in full point PPR back-to-back weeks. And he's been working in the receiving yard too. When 2
is there, Achan is averaging
RB1.
Elite level numbers. Like he's up there with Henry and Saquon.
Yep. He's
in
doing what
points
he
per
was
game.
drafted to do in like that high range. People wanted this huge second-year season from HM. It started off good, got real bad when Tua got hurt week 2, and then man, Tua came back and it completely changed it.
Yep, and Tyreek Hill, another good game from him. He's been good. Jalen Waddle, though.
Dude, waddled his way back into being a flex start.
We wrote this dude off, and he DeAndre Swifted us and came out and just absolutely tore up New England. So, you playing Jalen Waddle this week?
Not particularly, but yeah, because last week actually killed me. Like, I am a huge Jalen Waddle fan.
I love Jalen Waddle.
Back to Alabama, and he's always been one of my favorites. So to me, like last week, be like, I'm done with him this year. It's just not going to hit. And for him to do this, like, I was smiling the whole time just seeing him catch the ball. He took one to the house, and I'm like, that is Jalen Waddle. Like, where has this been all season? And it's still there, obviously. So it's going to be a rough matchup versus Green Bay. But you could flex him if you need to now. Like, the ceiling is now back on the table for Waddle.
Jalen Waddle or Jamison Williams?
Oh, wow. I'd probably still go J-Mo this week.
Okay, I would lean Waddle.
Yeah, okay.
Same game, Jalen Waddle or Jaden Reed?
Waddle.
I agree.
I don't like Green Bay's receivers. We talked about that last week. I look at Reed as a wide receiver too.
Yeah, Jaden Reed's
and he hasn't
the
even
only
done
one
that the last 2 weeks. So
he's the only one I would consider starting. I'm not messing around with Christian Watson or Romeo Dobbs or
Romeo Dobbs
Romeo's
not going to play.
Is he out?
Hasn't practiced at all this week, and with
Okay.
a short week, I doubt he plays on Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe then that gives you a little more confidence in starting one of the other guys, but it would still just be Jaden Reed to me. Yeah.
You can flex Reed regardless, but no Dobbs opens up Watson to being an actual flex. He went from having 150 yards to a legitimate goose egg. He literally pulled a Christian Watson. Like, this is what he does.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a scary thing, but you got to think
Tucker
the high upside.
Kraft is against the Dolphins. The bad tight end matchup. I think Tucker Kraft's playable. He scored a touchdown last week.
Yeah, but he only had 2 catches.
Yeah, I get that, but
the
against
week before,
Miami,
he had 0.
You can play the tight end who plays the Dolphins. They haven't.
It's gonna be scary.
They're one. Well, tight ends in general are scary.
Him or Hawkinson? I'd go Hawkinson in a heartbeat.
I think Kraft provides more touchdown upside. Hawkinson doesn't score, but Hawkinson has a really good floor because he's the second target in the offense.
No,
usually.
Not
this past week. He was second.
No, he was
Justin
Jefferson
was third.
Yeah.
Yeah. Minnesota plays Arizona. Arizona's not great against tight ends. I would still probably lean Hawkinson, but like I would start Tucker Kraft over Hunter Henry, over Dalton Kincaid.
What about Kate Otten?
Who the Bucks got? Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'd still go Otten just because of lack of weapons. Like, I get the Green Bay has no real weapons, but like Kate Otten has been heavily involved, like regularly. I would start Tucker Kraft.
That one's rough. I think I would lead Ingram, but that one, that's probably where the line is.
Yeah, like I would probably just off the top of my head, I would probably say Tucker Kraft's like 12 to 14 range.
Okay. I thought you were going to say he was a little bit higher than that. That's why I kind of drew back on it, but I would probably put him at 14. So he's streamable for sure.
And then ultimately, who wins this game?
It's going to be rough, dude. I wanted to go Miami, but I think I'm going to lean Green Bay.
I am going Miami. We didn't even touch on Jonnu Smith in the tight end range. I would play Jonnu Smith over Tucker Kraft.
100%. I start Jonnu overall. Jonnu is. I'd start him over Waddle if I had to start one of them.
Jonnu Smith's probably a top 5 tight end going forward.
You're pretty close to it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
like you can lock him in every week to start. 100%.
Yep. I am going with the Dolphins. I'm buying in that they're hot. They're hot and they're gonna melt the cold in Green Bay.
That's my thing. Like, they're going
ice.
to like, regardless of what the temperature is, it's going to be way colder in Green Bay than it is
Mike
anywhere near Miami.
McDaniel is throwing ice cubes at his players. He's keeping them in his pocket.
Cool.
I don't know if you saw that press conference.
They still don't do well in cold.
I know they don't. They're also really bad against good teams historically with Mike McDaniel. True. But I'm buying in on Miami. I think they're hot and going. All right, and then Black Friday, the Las Vegas Raiders travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 12-point favorites, over under a 42.5. Vegas odds makers love giving the Chiefs these huge spreads for them to not cover. Like, I don't think they've covered a spread all season, and they just keep getting these big numbers. As you know, during starts of the week, I think they cover this. I finally think Kansas City covers a spread. I don't think Vegas is going to get close to 12 points to Kansas City.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. It is O'Connell starting. I'm rather than that than Ritter. Man, if Ritter was playing, though, dude, the spread could have been like 17. I'm not going to lie to you. He would have had like 5-6 picks. But O'Connell isn't horrendous. He's bad, but he's not horrendous. But no, I agree. I think they cover. This will be the one.
Really, for Vegas, you're playing Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
You gonna play Jacoby Myers?
You could. Yeah, you could play him. You can.
Yeah. Jacoby Myers or Jameson Williams?
Probably still Jameson Williams on that one.
Yeah, I would also lean Jameson Williams. What about Keenan Allen?
Keenan Allen's. I think he's got a little bit better matchup.
Okay. Yeah. But
they're right there. He's very close on that line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Jacoby Myers is a guy who can now be flexed.
Yeah.
A little more comfortably, especially if it's Aiden O'Connell. If it's Desmond Ritter, I'm not messing with Jacoby Myers. But
I agree.
Vegas is. Have we heard anything on Alexander Madison or Zamir White? Or are we going with Amir Abdullah again?
Madison is still not practicing. No reports. Zamir White, nothing either. So I would assume we're getting Abdullah back-to-back weeks.
Okay, because he was okay.
He was okay, but
he scored.
I kind of think one of these guys will be on the field. I don't know if they're going to be fully involved, but I think at the end of the day, Madison or White's going to end up being on the field.
Yeah, he was 8 for 28, but he had 5 grabs for a touchdown for Abdullah. So the touchdown was nice.
That's where you're going to get his fantasy work, though. Like, he has to be involved in the passing game for him to be any type of relevant.
Yeah, I'm not sure either guy plays, but if they don't, I think we might see more Dylan Lobby this week.
He looked fine. He had a nice goal burst on the kick return that I seen. He looked explosive. So,
but I'm not playing any of them with no bye weeks. You're not desperate for a guy. And then Kansas City, lock him in. DeAndre Hopkins, Hunt, Pacheco. Like, if Pacheco plays, I'm willing to put him in my lineup.
I think practicing at full, so he's going to play.
Yeah, I think he scores. I think it'll be a statement game for Pacheco. I think just in Kansas City in general, I think this is going to be a big game for them. Travis Kelce could be tight end 1 on the week.
Yeah.
I'd even be fine flexing Xavier Worthy.
What about Noah Gray?
With no buys, I'm not going to go with Noah Gray.
18 points 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 22
I know. Last week.
I think a lot of his
touchdowns in 2 games.
It's touchdowns. If he doesn't score touchdowns, how many points does he have?
Last week it would have been 10. He had 4 for 66. But he had 2 tutties. But
yeah,
I wouldn't play him either. But just keep an eye on him.
If there were 6 teams on a bye week, sure, I'd slide Noah Gray into my tight end spot.
Yeah. Keep an eye on like waivers in Dynasty and stuff. I was able to scoop him up in one of our Dynasty leagues for free.
He's an option you can plug and hope he scores. But
I'm just looking for next season. If Kelce happens to retire, Noah Gray's their tight end. So
yeah. They also drafted Jared Wiley too. So we'll see if he would have any involvement.
I don't like that guy though.
I know you don't. But he's similar play style to Kelce. Sits in the zone, stuff like that. He's a Kansas City guy. But if Kelce would retire, it wouldn't put it by me to see the Chiefs draft a tight end in the first round.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Who wins?
Kansas City
wins by a ton.
Yeah.
But Xavier Worthy, would you play him?
Flexible.
Yeah.
This week.
Would you play the other guys that we've been drawing the line
I'd
for
start
over
Myers over him.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, I think Myers
I
is
would
a better
start
four.
Myers over.
Hey, we can agree on a 4 guy.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Worthy is the upside guy, but he's a little too frisky for me.
Worthy is the highest of high upsides.
Yeah. All right, Sunday games. But before we dive into Sunday, let's give a shout out to Dubby Energy. I got my Dubby shaker here, drinking out of it. We'll mix my energy drink in there if I had some. But Dubby Energy, we've all had days where you need that little pick me up and you need a little boost in caffeine to get you through the day. Whether it's a long day at work or you just didn't get a good night's sleep or you just need a little extra fuel at the gym. Or you're up grinding tape all night like we do sometimes. Well, W Energy's for you. W prides itself on full transparency and ingredient disclosure. No sugars, no calories, no artificial dyes, no fillers. If you want to find out more about W, you can go to their website, www.dubby.gg. That's WDUBBY. They also have a mobile app, which makes it super convenient to order from there. So go download their app, visit the site, and if you do place an order, use the code DRAFTEDUP at checkout for a 10% discount. And help support the pod as well. But be better and get that dub with Dubby Energy. That's Dubby, DUBBY.
Hell yeah. Get that dub. I like that name. Dubby Energy.
Yeah.
Good flavors too. Big fan.
Yeah. I'm going to place an order here this week. Might get the mystery flavor. Fuck around, see what that is.
Nice. I also plan on getting some stuff soon as well.
Yeah. So. Sunday. Let's get into the Sunday games. Starting off, the Seattle Seahawks travel to the East Coast to take on the New York Jets. The Seahawks are 2-point road favorites. An over-under of 41.5. The division-leading Seattle Seahawks with that win over Arizona.
Yep. Went from last to first in one game, baby boy.
Yeah. The wild NFC West.
It's insane.
Jets, who you playing? You're just playing your guys. Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson.
I'm cool with that.
Devontae Adams?
Seattle's
still a great matchup.
Devontae Adams. I would still flex him. He had 13.5 versus Indy in full-point PPR. He went 6 for 72. 2 weeks before that, he was 7 for 91 and a tutty. I'm not saying it's going to be a huge week, but I would rather die on a hill with Devontae Adams and bet on one of these shit guys.
Him or Jameson Williams?
Devontae Adams.
All right, I go JMO, as I said earlier. Yeah.
But I think I do love Jameson Williams, but the whole offseason we were pretty different on Devontae Adams.
We were. And so far it's leaning a little my way.
It is.
Yeah. We'll see, I hope this is a better back end of the season for him and the Jets, but it's going to be tough considering the Jets are in turmoil.
I didn't think Rodgers was going to be this bad, dude.
No,
I didn't think he was going to be great, but man, he has been abysmal. He's bad. He's like trash.
He said he wants, if he plays next year, he wants to play for the Jets. I don't know if the Jets retain him. I honestly think they're going to cut him.
It's not going to happen.
I don't even know if Rodgers plays next year. Honestly, if he should walk away, just go out.
He's bad. I don't even know if the team will give him a shot.
His image is already damaged just from how he is and what's going on with the Jets. That I don't know. I don't know if a team would give him a shot. I hope it wouldn't be the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe it'll be you guys, New York Giants. He just stays in New York.
No, I'd much rather you take him.
Him or Shedeur Sanders?
Sanders in a heartbeat, dude. That's a future.
Wow, you hate that guy.
I do not like I don't like Sanders' attitude or his work ethic, but Aaron Rodgers is like a cancer at this point, dude.
Yeah.
He is literally, the Jets have given him everything he's wanted on a silver platter, and all he has done is destroy that team.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it's it's because the Jets are owned by the Johnson & Johnson family, and this guy's just like, fuck your vaccine, dude, and has just completely destroyed the Jets, but the Jets are bad because of Rodgers, dude.
Imagine if they had a guy like Sam Darnold who would just sit back there, just be a fine quarterback.
The Jets last year were better with Zach Wilson and none of this talent. Well, they had Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall, but They brought in all of these guys. They brought in all these coaches. And they're,
got a good coach fired.
This year. He got a great coach fired.
Saleh.
Yeah. He got a great coach fired. 100%.
Seattle, you fucking around with any of their offense? Jets, pretty good defense.
I'm fucking around with all their offense.
Jackson Smith and Jigba's been incredible. Like,
yes, sir.
He's had 368 yards in the last 3 games. He's just bringing in all these passes. He's not going to go up against Sauce Gardner. So
nope.
I think JSN's a really good play. DK,
yep.
You're going to put him in. You're not going to bench DK Metcalf. Kenneth Walker, he wasn't.
I'd play him.
Great here. This run, I know he was my start of the week, and I would say that was an elf on my part. He wasn't great, but I don't think you can bench Ken Walker.
He's great passing. He was 4 for 52 in the pass game. Like, even if he's not involved great in the rush game with the 2.5 a clip, he's going to be involved in the passing game regardless. So I would start Ken Walker.
And it's really Geno Smith. Full slate of games. I don't think Geno's a great option.
Yeah, probably not.
Revenge game, though, if you want to go that route. But flying to the East Coast, those games are a little tricky. But Seattle's been pretty good about those. Like, I know they flew out. They beat you guys last year. And then this year, you guys flew out there and beat them.
That is true.
Yeah, but anything else in this game? Tyler Conklin? No?
No, not really, because there's no buys. But, yeah, pretty much everyone for Seattle minus Geno. I'd start Waller. I'd start JSN, DK. I'm cool with all 3 of those guys.
Mm-hmm. And then same with the Jets. It's Wilson, Adams, Breece Hall.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty easy one. Who wins?
Seattle.
I think the Jets win.
Whoa.
I do.
That's crazy.
I don't know why, but it's just this
a little gut feeling.
This gross feeling that the Jets pull this win off.
Oh wow, that would truly shock me. They're bad.
I am going with the Jets.
Okay. Well, gut feeling on TJ, but
it's just this weird.
What's the spread? 2 points on the road for Seattle.
2 points on the road for Seattle.
I'd be willing to triple it. I think they win by a tutty.
Triple it, okay. Next up, the Houston Texans travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, still led by Doug Peterson.
Somehow.
The Texans are 5-point road favorites, an over-under of 43.5. So the Jaguars' defense is the worst against quarterbacks. And as I brought up at the beginning of the show, CJ Stroud has been pretty bad this year. You willing to play him?
Oh, man.
Like, you're going to buy into this matchup?
It's a great matchup. And I mean, if you're in the predicament that you have him, and let's say you have...
I got him.
Who's your backup?
Geno Smith.
I'd start him over Geno. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to.
Now, would you start him over Love? Probably not.
No, I would start Jordan Love over CJ Stroud.
Yeah. What about like Justin Herbert?
Herbert.
Okay.
I think Herbert's just QB1 rest of the season. I would go Goff because I think he's got a better floor than CJ Stroud does, and his ceiling could be 50 points. He could put up 5 touchdowns. CJ Stroud cannot.
Yeah, no, I agree. Matt Stafford?
Oh, God. If I disrespect Matt Stafford, I know he's going to score 1 million touchdowns. Oh, he's playing in a dome against the Saints. Saints been playing better football. I think that's Cinderella's story.
I think it's going to be a shootout.
Eventually, I think I would lean Stafford.
I agree. I kind of agree on that one.
That one's close. I'd play Anthony Richardson. He's my start of the week. I would play Anthony Richardson over CJ Stroud.
I would not.
CJ Stroud's he's just been bad this year. 14 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Only not even 3,000 yards yet. His completion percentage is down from last year. Everything he feels, it's not a skill issue because CJ Stroud's an incredible quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think he's in his head. And he had the play to lose against Tennessee where he stepped out of bounds and he took the safety. Dan Orlovsky did. Mm-hmm. I think he put too much pressure on himself. Like he has his own podcast and he said that he's like a top 5 quarterback. I think it's just him putting too much pressure, and he's just not playing loose like he was last year.
I would
Like, I
like to
think he's
take a
trying to
moment
do
real
too
quick
much.
and talk about the football players with podcast situation. I have no issue with these guys having podcasts. They cannot talk about football. Talk about anything you want, man. But when you get up here talking about like CJ Stroud talking about himself, Michael Parsons talking about Dak Prescott, all that does is add unnecessary drama regardless of what they say. It could be all well-worded statements. Someone is going to pull from it, and it's not going to be good. There's no need to be out here talking about top 10 lists for quarterbacks and Michael Parsons doesn't have Dak in it. CJ Stroud has him at 5. Like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Talk about basketball. Talk about golf. Talk about finances. Teach young people how to save millions of dollars. Talk about anything except your job.
But nobody wants to hear them talk about that stuff. They want to hear them talk about football.
I would love to hear Michael Parsons talk about fucking video games. I'll do it. Just it gets
I do say
I hate it.
I do love how much shit CJ Stroud gives Michael Parsons. That boy
like that. That
does
funny.
not hold back on Michael Parsons.
That is funny.
Yeah, but no, I don't know what it is with Stroud. Like, I honestly do think he's just in his own head and he's just trying to do too much. Like, maybe this is a get-right game. Like I said, Kansas City has to have a statement game this week against Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud needs a get-right game if Houston wants to do anything. Because right now, if they make the playoffs, which they should because the AFC South is terrible, so they luck into that, they don't win a playoff game. I don't care that they have a home game.
We also have to look at CJ Stroud doesn't have to go out here and have Mondo 300, 400-yard passing games anymore because he has arguably one of the better running backs in football this year. Like, Joe Mixon is carrying so much weight off of CJ Stroud's shoulders. The picks are still a huge issue, but no one expected Joe Mixon to be a top 3 running back in football this year. It just wasn't in the conversation.
No,
and Joe Mixon has been
look what happened when Joe Mixon wasn't having a great game against Tennessee, and CJ Stroud had to win them this game, and he didn't.
I agree.
Will Levis outplayed him.
Oh no, I agree. But fantasy-wise, it was still one of CJ Stroud's better fantasy performances.
Was it? He had like 18 points.
He finished with 23, which is his most since week 6.
That's still.
It's his 4th highest scoring game on the year.
It's not great.
But it was fine. I think it's going to be a very similar week to last week. I think he can get 23, 24 points this week.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Stroud needs a boom game, just like for real life purposes. I think he needs to go out there and just light it up, just gain some sort of confidence back.
I don't know if we're going to get that with Mixon. Even Mixon shitting the bed last week, he still got 14 carries and he was out there for 77% of snaps. And like the week he shit the bed versus Detroit, he got 25 carries. Like regardless of what happens, they're running the ball. Like Joe Mixon's gonna get his regardless of if he's
they can run the
not.
ball this game because the Jaguars
and I think they're going
terrible. To. Yeah. Jacksonville is coming off the bye.
Trevor Lawrence is practicing.
Okay.
They're
BTJ,
not full, but he is out there practicing.
I think he plays them. Put BTJ in the lineup.
It's a division game. Jags are playing for nothing, dude. I expect him to sit another week. I'm not going to lie.
Well, they might be playing for Doug Peterson's job. If they love that guy.
That is true.
Yeah. But yeah. If Trevor Lawrence is out there, Brian Thomas Jr. is a lock in my lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Texans are bad against the pass. Travis Etienne, you messing with him?
Not ideally, but I mean, if you kind of have to, but I get it. But
him or
DeAndre
Swift?
Swift.
Okay, I would lean Etienne.
Etienne's last double-digit week is week 5. His games since week 5 have been -10, injury, 5, 5, and 6, and then a bye week. I would go Swift over Etienne.
What about Dowdle?
Dowdle as well.
Okay. I would start Dowdle over Etienne, but I would start Etienne over DeAndre Swift. Evan Ingram.
Get the special. You know what you're getting.
Yeah. think it's a little better if Trevor Lawrence is out there.
It's so much better because
you might get a 6 for 50.
Even with Lawrence out there, though, like his first game, Ingram's back was 10 for 102. Like he can have that because he's going to get peppered with targets.
Ingram. Yeah,
exactly. Like if the targets are on the table for Ingram, they're cheap, short catches, and if he reels in 10 of them, the math is there: 10 for 10, 4 for 40. It's going to add up. So Evan Ingram, if you need to, you can start him. Just don't expect a huge game.
And now if it's Mac Jones, though, you're gonna. Or you're gonna put? I put Evan Ingram in the same boat as Brian Thomas Jr. If Trevor Lawrence is in there, I'm good with them in my lineup. If it's not Trevor Lawrence, I will find a way out.
If it's not Trevor Lawrence, I'm just gonna leave it at I would start Will Dissly over Evan Ingram with Mac Jones. So
and then Houston, Tank Dell.
You can play him.
He had the same amount of targets as Nico Collins did last week against Tennessee.
You have 3 for 72 last week. I think you could play him. He was 4 for 54 the week before. So
him or Jacoby Myers.
Oh, that's rough. Oh man, Myers is gonna get peppered with targets. O'Connell.
Kansas City defense, though.
Tank Dell. Yeah. Tank Dell.
Okay. I would go with Jacoby Myers. I would.
Yeah, I get it. It's a lot closer than it should be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You'd play JMO over Tank Dell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then now Dalton Schultz, he's not doing anything. Nico's in. Joe Mixon's in. Locking in.
I'm willing to say if Dalton Schultz would participate in the combine currently right now, he would run a sub 7. I've never seen a slower man right now play tight end, and it's insane to me. Like, Kate Stover is going to be their starting tight end come the end of the season.
He is going to be the new Zach Ertz, but Zach Ertz can still do it. No, but I'm saying like that's going to be the joke: is Dalton Schultz catches it, falls down.
Oh, 100%. I think if Zach Ertz and Dalton Schultz raced, Zach Ertz would blow him out of the water.
Would love to see it. Would love to see it.
I would pay to see them to just 40-yard dash race. Fucking give me an old man combine. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Yes, I'm in on that. Sure. Who wins this game?
Give me Houston.
I agree. Houston, this is almost like they're going to win the division, but it almost feels like a must game just because like they got to get that sour taste of losing to Tennessee out of their mouth. And
yeah, for sure.
And if they would lose to Tennessee and then follow that up with a loss to Jacksonville, Indy would be able to sneak in and win that division then.
Yeah, if Indy pulls out that win this week and Houston somehow loses, they're only a game apart. So
yeah. All right. Tennessee, the Titans, they travel to Washington to take on the Commanders. Washington is 5.5-point home favorites over under a 44.5. Have you seen the thing going around online about Cliff Kingsbury's second half performances?
No, but I'm pretty sure you're about to tell me something that completely checks out because I do not know what the hell is going on with the Commanders right about now.
Cliff Kingsbury in the first half of seasons, whether he's the coordinator or coach of the team, they have like a 60% winning percentage. In the second half of the year, his team's winning percentage drops to 25%. That's as often as the New York Giants win football games.
That's bad.
Yeah. And you're kind of seeing it. He doesn't adjust his offense. He's like a lesser Mike McDaniel. Like Mike McDaniel, we've seen he struggles with like readjusting his offense, whether two is out. But like last week, he kind of picked it up and changed some things. He was hitting Jalen Waddle in the middle of the field instead of trying to stretch it because of the too high safety. Whereas Cliff Kingsbury does not make any adjustments. He's just, and you saw it in Arizona, and now we're starting to see it here in Washington. So a little bit worrisome.
It is. I think it also falls back onto Robinson's been completely banged up every game. He is almost like Jalen Waddle. Like every single game that guy plays, you're getting multiple notifications that he's questionable.
Oh, and Austin Eckler got killed.
That was scary, dude. And he's also been a little bit banged up here and there, and he's older, so it's going to happen. McLaren's the only option to spread the field in the passing game. Like, Zach Ertz is a reliable blanket, but Terry McLaurin needs help. He can't be doing this, and he's showing that he is so good. Like, McLaurin is an elite receiver. He's a baller. He's a dog. Get the guy help. They're going to be double covering him, 2 high safeties. You can't really do much with McLaurin at this point unless it's blowing off the top plays, which he's amazing at that.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to open up the offense somehow with like different run schemes. I'm worried that Eckler's, he might miss this week. That concussion was really scary. If he misses, that's part of the offense gone, dude. Like, him and Robinson both need to be out there healthy for this offense to be really functionable. And we talked about a little bit Cliff Kingsbury leaving. I hope he doesn't. I don't think he's ready for another head coaching gig. I want him 3 years in the Commanders with Daniels, really show us that he can coach a quarterback again. And Daniel Daniels is going to get him a head coaching job at some point again. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully not this season.
Well, not if it keep going at this rate.
Oh, 100%. The last 2 weeks have been.
Yeah, the vibes in Washington are not great. Like we mentioned last week, like they're in this stretch of games where they can be winning these games because Philadelphia has tough games, and it puts them right back in the division hunt. And they went out and threw a dud against the Cowboys, and now they're playing Tennessee.
I think they're officially out of the division. Right
yeah, I agree with how
too good.
Philly destroyed the Rams, and I don't think Washington
can
really make the comeback.
Good.
And now they're playing Tennessee, who's coming off a hot win against the Texans, and this team's playing for Will Levis's future because you could say Tennessee's in the quarterback market. I think they're going to go with Levis next year.
I agree.
Like him sitting, getting hurt, like people say he was benched, but it was an injury thing. And since he's been back, he's been really good. I mean, he's still doing Will Levis things. He's taking sacks, but he's not turning the ball over as much, and he's playing a little bit more, loose.
Yeah, he's also reading defenses better. Not a bunch better, but he's showing progress. He's showing that he can take the steps forward in a quarterback progression. I think it'd be dumb to draft a quarterback. I think you just roll with Levis. If you want to bring in a veteran backup as a backup, go for it. Bring in a guy to hey, if you're not on your game every single time, there's a guy here that could take your job. An Andy Dalton kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'd be smart to give Will Levis another shot next year.
Yeah, I say bring him draft him one of the receivers in this draft.
I agree.
And
with Calvin
pair that
Ridley?
with Calvin Ridley. Yep. Because no disrespect to Nick Westbrook-Akine, who once again scored a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that guy's going to be on the team next year regardless.
I mean, he's been on the team forever. He's been there for 6 years.
Him and Will Levis have some type of connection. If you're putting up fucking 6 touchdowns in 7 weeks, that's a crazy stat line. Since Hopkins has left, he's just been.
He's Will Levis's Darius Slayton.
I mean, yeah. He would definitely be on pace for Darius Slayton season.
So Washington running backs, you going to play any of them? Tennessee, really good against the run.
I think if Robinson goes, you can flex him, but it's going to be a rough matchup.
Especially
he needs
if
to get in the end
Eckler's
zone.
not there. If Eckler's not there, Robinson, he
He's
might
a
even
go
have
for
some
sure,
passing work, but McNichols plays a lot when one of these backs is down. He's on the field a good amount.
Fine. Given the chances, he's got 4 touchdowns on the year. He's pretty explosive. But he's not going to be worked in the receiving game. He only has 2 targets on the year, 2 catches.
Yeah.
So expect Robinson to get a good amount in the receiving game if Eckler is out.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin, lock him in your lineup. L'Jarius Sneed went on IR 2 days ago. So
that's
Terry
huge.
McLaurin. Yeah. So Tennessee, you can pass on them just because you can't run on them. Zach Ertz.
You can play him if you need to.
Yeah.
I've been saying that all season, baby. I feel we talk about this guy every week. How crazy is that?
Zach Ertz?
Just consistently just talking about Zach Ertz, dude.
Would you play him or Evan Ingram?
Oh, man. Gross.
They're the same. You're getting
They really are. So
the special.
Zach Ertz has 2 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. I love to see that. But I'd probably go Evan Ingram this week.
Unless Mac Jones is in, then I'm going.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, for
Zach
sure.
Ertz. Tennessee.
Everything we say about the Jaguars is if Trevor Lawrence
Lawrence, yeah. Tennessee, Tony Pollard, I'm putting him in. He looked great against the Texans. Calvin Ridley's a fine.
I think we owe that guy a little apology. We were not really excited for him after the performance with Minnesota and the bad matchup versus Houston, but he fucking looked amazing last week versus Houston, dude. So
well, it also helped Tyjae Spears was out, so it was Tony Pollard's backfield again. So it's weird.
He averaged like 5 a clip though, which is great. Like the week before, he averaged less than 2.
When it's been just Tony Pollard, he's been incredible.
Yeah, and
then when he splits time, he's not as good, which is usually the reverse. But I'm cool putting Tony Pollard in. Washington's defense is just okay. Calvin Ridley, I'm putting him in, and then it's, are you messing around with Nick Westbrook-Akine?
The streak has to stop at some point. But he's literally gone freaking a touchdown every week since the bye except one. So I mean, if you're really hurting, you can pull the trigger, but be weary.
It's tough with no bye weeks to throw a guy like that in the lineup.
This guy,
So I'd stash him. I'm cool having him.
Yeah, he should be on your rosters at this point.
We brought it up last week that if he scored again, you should be rostering him, and he did.
Yeah, no, I agree. He should be on rosters at this point.
Okay. And then Chigakonkwo, I don't care that he had a 70-yard touchdown. Not doing that. What about Will Levis? Not with a full slate. I said Will Levis.
Oh,
with a full slate of games. I'm not going around with it. But next week, 6 teams on bye. Maybe get ahead of the game. Will Levis, he's got great matchups rest of the season.
I kind of think Will Levis, if you're streaming quarterbacks, Will Levis should just be on your team. He is all green matchups for the rest of the year. So if you know you're streaming quarterbacks in the playoffs, you need to get Will Levis on your team.
Or if you have a like if you're a Lamar Jackson owner, they got to bye next week. Get ahead of the game. Just pick up Will Levis now, so you have your quarterback for when Lamar's on your bye. Or James Daniels also has a bye.
Yeah, Houston's also on a bye. So go out there, get Will Levis. I played him in a bunch of leagues where I had Josh Allen last week. He was on a bye. Mm-hmm. Will Levis slid in, and I'm not gonna lie, he won me a couple games, dude. He was a great fill-in.
He's been looking good. Who wins?
Bounce back week for Washington. I'm still in it. Still on Washington. I think they're a good team.
I agree. I don't know if they cover the 5.5 though.
No, 5.5's a lot.
Tennessee, real good defense. They're playing really well right now, coming off hot. Next up, Pittsburgh. The Steelers travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point home favorites. Over under a 47. Pittsburgh hasn't looked great the last couple weeks.
I agree.
Cincinnati's offense has looked great every week, but their defense is a different story.
Horrendous.
Yeah, the defense has questions. Now, Josh Newton, he took over the nickel duty last week because Mike Hilton got hurt. He looked pretty good. And Josh Newton, in the spring prior to the draft, he had some first-round buzz, and then he just had a really bad college season. And that happens with corners. Like, it's the worst tape to watch. I hate watching corners because it's boring to begin with, because if they're locking guys down, it's just like, okay, check, lock down. But, like, corners are very year to year, and you see that even in the NFL. Like, Sauce Gardner, who's regarded as one of the top 5 corners in football, hasn't been great this year.
Yeah. It happens.
That's just and
it's
even
so hard to
even more
consistently
prevalent
cover
in college.
Receivers. Yeah. Guys are super inconsistent, super touchy. You see I hate to compare cornerbacks to kickers, but kickers are super streaky throughout the years. Like, look at Chris Boswell this year. He's the best kicker in fantasy. 2 years ago, he was arguably one of the worst kickers in football. He was horrendous. But it's so hard to consistently do that job, and it just shows how hard kicking is, and it shows how hard covering receivers are. Like, you can't get handsy, you can't grab.
Nope.
There's so many pass interference calls. It's so stacked up against you as a cornerback in the NFL now. It is so hard to go out there and consistently do it at an elite level every single week. And the guys that are doing it deserve every single bit of praise that they are getting. Cornerbacks are the quarterback of the defense. It is so hard to be the quarterback and the corner. You have to run everything. You have to watch everything. And one slip up You just let up a 70-yard touchdown because you thought you had coverage on the top. And it's that simple. You just messed it up for your whole team.
I've been on record that corner is the hardest position to play in football.
I have it too, behind quarterback.
Yeah. But so we'll see if Newton gets in, maybe he provides a little bit of juice to this defense. One player's not going to make a difference. The Bengals safeties are the worst. Like, again, I've said it before. They have talented dudes at corner.
Mm-hmm.
They have two talented linebackers, and they have one of the best edge rushers in football in Trey Hendrickson. It's just not working. Like, the Bengals are last in the league in sacks, and Trey Hendrickson leads the league in sacks.
Because there's no one else around him.
Yeah, it's an insane.
People around it, but
it's an insane situation. Now, there's rumors swirling that Russell Wilson could be getting benched. They might be going back to Justin Fields. So, like, Pittsburgh lost to Cleveland on Thursday in the snow globe game. Offense is kind of sputtered here. So who knows? Justin Fields has been playing here and there. Like, they've been utilizing him in these, trick packages. So we'll see where Pittsburgh goes from here regarding that. But George Pickens, great matchup. Lock him in your lineup. Bengals defense can't stop anybody. I think Pickens. I like Jalen Warren. If you're feeling frisky, he's double digits in full PPR the last 3 weeks.
I think he's as good as a play as Najee is at this point.
I agree. Like, he's providing passing work. I thankfully dipped
Najee at the bye, and thankfully it's been downhill since. It's been 11, 13, 7 and full point PPR. No touchdowns the last 2 weeks.
They're playing tough matchups, which benefits the passing back,
the receiving back,
Jalen Warren. Russell Wilson on paper, good matchup, but full slate of games. I'm not putting Russ in. Are you worried? Double
back to the snow globe game. He played good. He was 21 of 28, 270 and a touchdown, no turnover. He played fine. The weather, I think, really got out of hand. So that once it starts snowing like that, it can go any bit of way.
Yeah.
And you're playing the best backyard football quarterback of all time in Jameis Winston. And it's snowing. He's out there eating snow, and he's a legitimate dog. And he plays for the Browns. So he's the dog of the dogs. Oh, Winston, I love that guy.
This continues to just show that Deshaun Watson's the problem in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski is an incredible coach. And
it's insane how you have the most likable quarterback on your team, and then you have the dirtiest of dirt on your team as well. Like, just play Winston regardless of what happens next year.
I think Kevin Stefanski has to go in next year and put his foot down. Like, look, I can't win with this guy. Keep him on the roster because you can't cut him. But Kevin Stefanski's got to be like, I'm not playing him. I'm not drafting me a quarterback.
There's no reason.
You keep me
Winston.
Make
it work the cap situation this year. Winston should be your quarterback next year, just for the year. Ride it out with him as your quarterback because he's going to be better than Watson. Regardless of what happens, he opens up your offense. Watson's just shit. So roll with Winston another year, and then after that year, you have an out with Watson. You have to pay him a little bit of money, but it's not $50-70 million. So roll with Winston, dude. But, he's a starter. I'm fine with that.
Back to Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. George Pickens, lock him in.
Dog, love that.
Jalen Warren. Would you start Jalen Warren over Najee Harris? I would. Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else on Pittsburgh though?
Nope.
I agree.
Nope.
Cincinnati, Joe Burrow would be in the MVP category if the Bengals were winning football games. Jamar Chase been really good. If T. Higgins is out there, put him in your lineup. He was great against the Chargers. And Chase Brown is doing his best CMC impression, just being so utilized as the guy there. He's getting everything.
Whoever has that guy has been he's been carrying your running back spot.
I know. Like, he might be the guy. I'm
not even talking about you in general. I'm talking about whoever has him. Like, he's probably your best running back in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Like,
he's been
Chase Brown's a
so
lock at this point every week. Start him. Yep.
Not messing around with Gesicki or the other tight ends with T. Higgins out there.
No.
Like, these are just easy ones, and then it's who wins the game.
Pittsburgh. I would just go with Pittsburgh. We'll keep it
Cincinnati
up. We'll keep up the bit. We'll keep up the bit. It's for the bit.
If Pittsburgh loses this game, do they bench Russell Wilson?
No.
That'd be 3 straight losses for him?
Yes. No, they weren't 8-1, were they?
I don't remember.
No, I think they beat Baltimore.
Yeah, they did.
They beat Baltimore. They lost to Cleveland. No, I don't think he gets benched if they lose.
So it would be losing 2 of 3.
2 of 3. Yeah, losing 2 in a row though. Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think if they do lose this game, we might see more of Justin Fields than the packages they've been using with him.
I mean, you've seen it last week because they essentially put him in the Taysom Hill role. And I think that's what they have to do with him. Like, you don't want him in there subbing in his quarterback packages a bunch because that's just going to ruin the flow of the team. But if you want to have him out there with Wilson, I would love that. To have both of those guys out there. You can even do direct snaps to Fields and have Russell Wilson to stand there. It opens up the offense a lot.
I think if they do use Fields more, it should be just like a drive basis. Don't put him in for 2 plays, pull him out, put Russ in. Let him do a drive, because then continues continuity there. Who knows? Like, I don't know. It's getting weird in Pittsburgh, and it worries me. I still trust
Russell Wilson.
Like, maybe that's the reason the offense is sputtering, because they're throwing Justin Fields in there here and there. I don't know. But I do think the Bengals off the bye, I think they win this game.
They're also playing 2 really good defenses. Like the Baltimore, at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, is going to have a good defense when you're playing them. They're going to play hard. And the Browns, and they're also division games. Like division games, whatever happens, are always a battle. Like these games are bloodbath, especially in this division. Like these 4 teams fucking hate each other. And they're all so close geographically. Mm-hmm. Like the Steelers don't have to travel far for this game. It's literally right across the border of the state.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bloodbath regardless. But I'm excited anytime division game on these side. So I'm going Pittsburgh though.
Yeah. The Arizona Cardinals travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The Vikings are 3.5 point home favorites, over under of 45 points.
My 2 favorite teams.
Yeah. We talked about the Bengals. I love the Bengals.
That is true.
Yeah, we're just getting them here. I said it last week, for the Vikings to be effective and beat Chicago, they had to get Aaron Jones going, and they did just that. Mm-hmm. He had 100 yards. He looked great. And then Jordan Addison, we've said it earlier, you can't pass on Chicago. Jordan Addison's the outlier. He absolutely ripped apart the Bears defense. And T.J. Hawkinson was a good play as well. My start of the week at tight end. Justin Jefferson took a back seat, and the team guy he is, he's just like, some weeks it's going to be everybody else's feeding, and I'm just going to be there, and we're going to win, and that's fine by me. I don't care. I don't need to put up 100 yards.
He was shadowed by the Bears' #1 corner. I'm
Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson.
I'm so sorry.
Is Jalen Johnson, top 5 corner in football. He's incredible.
100%. And it shows when he shadows Justin Jefferson. Like Justin Jefferson is arguably the best receiver in football, and he went out here and made him look like just another guy, that doesn't happen ever.
Yeah, so, and Sam Darnold did not force the passes to Justin Jefferson, because had he,
which he has been doing, and it's a huge mistake.
Might have been a different story for the outcome there.
Yep.
Arizona coming off a terrible loss. The offense looked bad against Seattle, unless you're a Trey McBride, who had an insane game. He's been incredible at tight end. Going forward here, you lock him in your lineup. He's a top 3 tight end.
Yeah, for sure.
Marvin Harrison, your start of the week this week, I think is a great play against Minnesota. We saw what DJ Moore and Keenan Allen did against this defense. You can pass on him. James Conner, tough to bench him.
Gonna be a struggle. Oh, you have to play him, yeah.
You got to hope that he's involved in the passing game for him to be effective against Minnesota.
I expect him to be involved the last 2 weeks, not counting the bye, obviously, to the last 3 weeks, but the bye in between. He's been 5 targets, 5 catches. So I expect it to be very similar to that, because they're not going to be able to run heavy on Minnesota. It's just not going to happen. You guys are too good up front. But the last 2 weeks, though, have been pretty rough on the ground here. It was 12 for 33 and then 7 for 8. But it is against the Jets in Seattle, and they are rougher matchups, but Minnesota's rougher. They're harder matchups, so Don't expect a big ground game here for James Conner.
How do you feel about Kyler Murray this week?
Uh,
Minnesota's
I'm,
middle of the road against quarterbacks.
I'm in on Murray. He's good, and you guys. This has always been a Minnesota thing. Is you guys struggle versus rushing
We
quarterbacks,
cannot.
but it all falls back on the Michael Vick way back in the day, making you guys look
this has always
silly.
been a thing.
But somehow it's just always been like consistently you guys struggle versus running quarterbacks. It doesn't matter who your defensive coordinator is, though you guys arguably have the best defensive coordinator in football.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be rough, but I'm cool with Murray this week.
Him or Justin Herbert?
Oof. Oh,
Herbert's
man,
got the
I wanted
Falcons.
a little bit more. I wanted a little more out of Herbert last week, but I think we have a big game for Herbert this week.
Yeah.
I would lean Herbert a little bit more.
I would also lean Herbert, but that one's a toss-up.
Yeah. The rushing upside on Murray is so good, dude.
Yeah. And then Minnesota, you ride in the Jordan Addison ride, putting him back in the lineup.
Yeah, you can play him if you need to. I look at him as...
Him or Jalen Waddle?
Him.
Jameson Williams?
I'd probably go Addison, dude.
I would too. They're the same player in my eyes.
They are.
They provide the same sort of big play upside and low up, low downside. And I'll just take the Sunday game over the Thursday game. Plus Arizona, but not as good in the passing game on defense as Chicago.
Full point PPR. 3 of the last 4 weeks, he's had 16-10, great. 4-9, that's bad week versus Jacksonville. But then 17-10 versus Tennessee, and then 35-20 versus Chicago last week. Last 2 weeks, he's had 8 targets. Last 2 weeks ago, 9 targets this week. I'm cool with Addison, dude. Like, Jameson Williams isn't going to get 9 targets. It's just not going to happen. It's not the kind of receiver he is. So I would go Addison.
Yeah, and Hawkinson, lock him in.
Lock him in.
Michael Wilson?
You can flex him if need be. It's deep leagues. He
falls into my if there was bye weeks, I could mess around with Michael Wilson, but with a full week, chances are that there's no reason to slide him into your lineup.
Yeah, I see
and
that
then
for sure.
Aaron Jones, good play. Justin Jefferson, you're not worried about him.
No, can't be. He's the best.
Sam Darnold?
Probably not.
Him or CJ Stroud?
You got Herbert. I would start all those guys. Goff, Baker.
Stroud?
I'd start Stroud over him, yeah.
Okay. Gino?
No.
Okay.
I would go Darnold over Gino.
Kirk Cousins?
Not over Darnold, I don't think.
Who wins?
Minnesota.
This is going to put my theory to the test. Every time I pick the Cardinals, they lose. Now they're playing my favorite team. So if I pick the Cardinals in hopes to make Minnesota win, they'll win, being Arizona. Yeah. And if I pick the Vikings, the Cardinals, that's what they're going to do. They're going to win. But I'm not going to pick against my team. Minnesota should win this game. They're better than Arizona. Arizona's playing decent football sans last week. I think it's a good football team. I thought that going into the offseason. As you know, if you listen to the previews, you guys know I'm insanely high on the Arizona Cardinals. But Minnesota should win this game. They have a stretch of 3 home games. They got to keep up with Detroit for a potential,
dude.
Yeah, end the season with them. And that could be a huge game. So I do think 100%. Minnesota wins this game, and I'm going to give it to coaching. Kevin O'Connell is a better coach than Jonathan Gannon.
I just think you guys are overall better coached, better defense, better offense. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. The Los Angeles Chargers travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Chargers are 2.5-point road favorites, over under a 48. Is Kirk Cousins washed? Because take away the Tampa Bay games. Against Tampa Bay, Kirk Cousins has 8 touchdowns of his 17 are against the Bucs. And he's got 900 passing yards on the Bucs. You take away those 2 games, Kirk Cousins is a pretty bad quarterback.
You're not wrong. He would have a completely different season without those 2 games.
He's not fantasy relevant.
Good. I think it's a good matchup, though.
against the Chargers.
But
Chargers good defense.
It's a green matchup on fantasy.
Yeah, I don't.
With the weapons around him, no bye weeks.
I don't think Kirk Cousins is a fantasy guy. I just think he's just a fine real life quarterback at this point, and I'm sure it's the injury that's actually the problem.
I agree,
but
he's
Atlanta
old.
drafted Michael Penix. They don't got a lot of time to waste here. Like, I guess they go with Cousins next year because they're not going to cut him. So
I would assume Cousins will be quarterback next year.
Yeah, maybe you guys, if you don't get a quarterback, try to trade for Kirk Cousins.
I'd rather not trade for a quarterback.
Trade for Michael Penix, though.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. For doing that.
Okay.
I like him more than any quarterback in the draft besides Cam Ward.
No, I like Penix more than Cam Ward.
I like Penix more. Yeah, Penix is so good.
All right, so you're gonna put your Chargers in. Lad McConkey.
I doubt Dobbins plays.
Yeah, I would say if Dobbins doesn't play, you willing to start Gus Edwards?
No.
Gus Bus? Me either.
No, I'm not, because they're still not going to give him the goal line carries for some reason.
Quentin Johnston? He kind of...
Also, real quick,
big letdown last week.
I don't ever want to wish injury upon someone, but Dobbins couldn't have got hurt 3 points before. I went into Monday night up 6, and he got the guy I was playing 8. You couldn't have just went down, man, and just made me the happiest person in the world.
Glad he didn't.
Miracle Monday night games.
Glad he didn't.
70 points the week before from Joe Mixon and Houston's defense. And I was so close to somehow getting a miracle win here with Dobbins going down, but you never want to see it. Yeah. But I'm not going to start Gus Edwards. He's not reliable, dude.
What about Quentin Johnson? He
goosed.
He goosed. Yeah.
He goosed us, bro.
He dropped a big pass. Yeah, we finally started having the confidence.
I still like the
Quentin
Chargers
Johnston.
and Alpha.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, shout out Joe. He commented on our last video. He was really hating on Quentin Johnston. And I said, I still like Quentin Johnston as like the wide receiver 3 of this team, but they do need to go out this offseason and get an alpha receiver for Justin Herbert. Like, I like Lad McConkey. I don't think he's an alpha. Like,
no,
get Justin Herbert
an elite number 2.
If they, I don't know their cap situation. I know the Chargers are never in good cap situation, so I doubt they can afford T. Higgins, but I would love that. Higgins, Ladd, and Huge.
Higgins would be perfect. I'm looking at it like the Eagles before A.J. Brown. Like, Smith is a really good number 2. He can't be a number 1. And you get A.J. Brown, and he's just that guy. He changes. He's a dog. If you bring that in, T. Higgins could do that. If he stays healthy, and he could really just open up this offense. Yeah, if he stays healthy. But Ladd's not that. Like, Ladd is an elite number 2. I will 100% give him that title as of right now on his rookie season. Ladd McConkey will be an elite number 2 receiver for many, many years, barring injury.
And shoot, if they would get an alpha, I think that would just make Ladd better. Like,
I agree.
Joe also brought up that Seattle might move on from DK Metcalf. If I'm the Chargers, what do you want? I personally don't think they will. But
that would really hurt my JSN thing. I think JSN's going to have a huge year, but I think it relies on DK eating a lot of the coverage. But DK would be perfect here. Like, any type of alpha receiver here would be phenomenal for the Chargers. And low-key, I think that's really what they're missing. I think they're honestly a deep playoff contender with an alpha receiver.
Would you consider Devontae Adams next year still an alpha? Because that could be on the table.
I would. I really
Debo
would. Justin
Samuel?
Herbert, no. I'm not a Debo guy. He's not an alpha receiver.
I think he's also too similar to like Lad McConkey. Like, I think they would just be taking away from each other's. All right, but this game, I guess you could play Quentin Johnston, but with full slate of games, he falls into that category where I'm not going to play him probably. But if I needed a huge upside guy and he was on my bench and like I only had like a safe floor guy, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to play Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, regardless of what the outcome here for Quentin Johnston is on the season is,
it's been a W for him.
It's been a tremendous W energy here for Quentin Johnson. Like, there were people cutting him in dynasty leagues before the start of the season. He was a first round receiver, after his rookie year, and people are like, he's done. And we all said it too. Like, he looked like shit his rookie year. This season, he's had a 100-yard game. You would have never thought that his rookie year. It wouldn't have been on the table.
He wasn't dropping passes until last night. He dropped a big pass, but we'll see. Will Dissly, I like Will Dissly this week. I'd play him over those floor guys we mentioned, Evan Ingram, Zach Ertz, all those guys.
Yeah.
Would you play Will Dissly over Kyle Pitts?
No.
No?
I'm still too high on Kyle Pitts. That's an thing. That's a bad analyst. I was a bad analyst, bad
Dissly
ego,
Kyle Pitts.
and I'm just salty as hell about Kyle Pitts, and I'm still stuck with him in so many leagues.
I think if Atlanta wants to get things going, they got to start utilizing Kyle Pitts, because they were at the beginning of the year and they were playing good football, and now it's been
100%.
It's just been Drake London and Bijan Robinson. They've kind of forgotten about Kyle Pitts. Drake London, Bijan, obviously in your lineup, they've been great. And then who wins this game?
The Chargers.
Chargers? I agree.
Yeah, I think the Chargers win. Are a really good team, dude.
Yeah. All right, let's start rapid firing these games. We got some bad ones here. The Indianapolis Colts travel to New England to take on the Patriots. Colts are 2.5-point road favorites, over under 42.5. As you know from the beginning of the show, I like Anthony Richardson this week. I think he provides top 12 QB upside based off his rushing abilities and based off what Tua did to this defense last week. I think you could play Anthony Richardson with confidence. Josh Downs probably not playing, so I think Michael Pittman is a decent play. He was a good play last week. 95 yards and a touchdown, 6 grabs. He's going to be the target guy of this offense.
No touchdown for Pittman.
No touchdown. Okay. He had 15 points.
Six for 96.
Oh, I guess if he was 6 for 95. Yeah, that's kind of bad. So I was doing 4.
Pittman knows a really good start. Without Downs out there, that's coming from me. And I'm not high on Richardson. I'm not high on Pittman. But Pittman's a really good start this week with no Downs, 100%.
And then it's
Jonathan Taylor. Is you have to play him based on name and where you drafted him. I get it, but Anthony Richardson has completely made this guy not fantasy relevant. He's not getting looks. He's not getting goal line carries. It's scary, dude.
I mean, Johnny Taylor's never really been like a receiving back, so that part doesn't worry me. But the goal line stuff does. But I don't think every week's going to be Anthony Richardson at the goal line. I think it's going to be here and there. It might be a Jonathan Taylor week to score. It might be an Anthony Richardson week. I'm going to play Jonathan Taylor. I almost made him my start of the week, just because like you got to have the confidence to play him.
He's not a huge receiving back, but he's 13 catches on the year, and none of them are like with Richardson. The year he finished RB1, he had 51 targets, 40 catches.
Running quarterbacks rarely throw to running backs.
I get that.
Look at Caleb Williams. Doesn't throw to DeAndre Swift.
That makes Taylor like, oh man, it's a rough go for the remainder of the year. Just be aware of that. Like it's never going to be pretty here.
I'm cool. I'm cool with him this week against New England. New England's bad.
You have to. I'm not saying bench him. You have to play him based on who he is. He's one of the best running backs in football.
I think you can confidently play him this week.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think they blow out the Patriots. I don't even know if there's anyone on New England worth playing. Hunter Henry. I wouldn't play Ramondre.
I mean, he got outsnapped by Gibson last week.
Yeah, and I'm not playing Antonio Gibson. That's how you get trapped.
No. Oh, no, I'm not starting either of those
The receivers are bad. Like, if there was buys, I might fuck around with Drake May, but full slate of games, Drake May, I love him, but not playing him.
He's got 1 touchdown on the year. I don't think he finished the week as a top. No, yeah,
but like Hunter Henry, just because of the tight end position, I'm fine with him in. Like if somehow you don't have one of these guys that we've brought up,
that'd be rough though. Like if Hunter Henry's your best option at tight end, I apologize, but I don't think you're gonna make it far in the playoffs.
Well, chances are the Hunter Henry team probably doesn't have
me
Hunter
wrong.
Henry.
Screenshot me a title team with Hunter Henry though. I'll eat my words if someone can do that.
Yeah, I don't really want to play any. I think I'm saying Hunter Henry's the only guy you could play in my eyes for New England.
I agree to that.
Yeah. I think Colts win this game.
Who do I have picked actually? I have the Colts. I'll give the Colts.
Okay.
What's the spread?
2.5.
Fuck. Okay. Never mind.
They're covering.
They are.
Tampa Bay travels to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Bucks 6-point road favorites, over under of 46.5. Your start of the week, Baker Mayfield. I got my start of the week also in the backfield there in Bucky Irving. Both guys great plays. Kind of a revenge game for Baker, but he's been great regardless. Mike Evans, put him in. Kate Otten, I think he's a great play this week as well. And
sure.
I think both backs, I think Rachaad White's fine too. I would rather play Bucky Irving, but Rachaad White, I wouldn't be pulling him from my lineup just because Bucky Irving was out snapping him.
White ended up in the end zone last week as well.
Mm-hmm.
You want more receiving work. You want the week before the bye where he had 6 for 39.
Yeah, I think it'll level. I think it'll level out.
The one catch is weird, dude. Like that's so weird for White. That's just not what he is. I don't think that happens again. I think he's more involved.
No, but Tampa offensive guys, you can lock them in, I think.
All of them.
And
yeah.
Carolina, Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba.
Keep playing him. Keep chugging along with Chuba. And you brought it up, Adam Thielen. Not necessarily great box score, but he was being targeted a ton by Bryce Young. Bryce Young loves Adam Thielen. You were right.
Yep.
So if you were ahead of the game and rostered Adam Thielen, good for you. I think you could flex him this week 100%. If you really need somebody. But he seems to be the guy, Bryce Young's favorite target there. But Jalen Coker was also out. David Moore was actually the favorite target. That guy had 10 targets. He was playing for Jalen Coker. So we'll see if Jalen Coker's out there this week, if Jalen Coker ends up getting that sort of favorable targets that David Moore was getting. So he's just a guy to keep an eye on. I love Jalen Coker, but Adam Thielen also, he was getting the important targets in the red zone.
Yeah.
They were trying to force him the ball. And then Bryce Young, 2 QB league, sure, put him in, but full on week. I'm not streaming Bryce Young, but he's been playing better, and he deserves props for how good he's looked since coming back from being benched. But I don't think Carolina wins this game.
No, I agree. And Sanders is going to miss time. Thankfully, it's not as severe as it looked or as it was.
Jatavian.
Especially when he was getting carted off on the board. It was extremely scary for a young rookie tight end
landed
and
on
any
his
football
head,
player in general.
Bounced. It was a rough look.
They're still evaluating him, but he has avoided some serious major injuries, which is very good to hear. Yeah. But I'm going Tampa Bay though for sure.
Los Angeles Rams travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Rams 2.5-point road favorites, over under a 49 points. You expect a shootout. Vegas agrees, 49. My start of the week, Taysom Hill. I think is a great play for New Orleans, and Alvin Kamara. That's it from the Saints. I'm not playing MVS yet. I'm still not.
I am.
You are.
I am. Yeah.
Okay. Where's he with these guys we've talked about? Jalen Waddle, Jordan Addison, Jameson Williams, Keenan Allen.
Still not above any of those guys.
Okay.
He's close. I'm not going to lie to you.
Lad McConkey.
Still go Lad. I'd go MVS over Huge.
Okay. Me too. Michael Pittman?
No, Pittman.
No. Adam Thielen.
Give me the upside guy. Give me MVS.
Okay. What about the Titans guys? Ridley and Westbrook-Akine.
Just Ridley. I'd go Ridley over him, but I would go MVS over Westbrook-Akine.
And then the Rams, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford. If you're real desperate for quarterback, if you're just kind of fluctuating stream quarterbacks every week, I think Matt Stafford's a good stream this week. Puka Nacua.
For sure.
Kyron Williams.
Great.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're playing the Rams. You're playing Kyron, Puka, Cooper. I can never say their names back to back. It's so hard for me.
You got to separate them like I did.
And then you got to say first and last names. And then Stafford, streaming, like you said, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so the only option different here is MVS, but I would be cool with him.
Okay. Then who wins?
Oh, the Rams,
shootout.
Dude.
The Rams. The Rams got to win after the performance against Philly. I agree. And then they're still in this division hunt, tight division. So a win here against New Orleans, considering Minnesota is a tough team for Arizona.
Teams in football.
And Seattle, tough to go coast to coast. They got to go to the Jets, so it's a game they possibly lose as well. And then San Fran's got Buffalo, so a win for the Rams would be huge here.
For sure.
Yep, I'm also going with L.A. Philadelphia travels to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens are 3-point home favorites, Over under of 50.5 points.
Up it, baby. Come on, Vegas.
Up it.
Let's hear it. 55.5. Give me that line. 55.5, baby.
55. That's what so you're going 5 over the.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would be cool betting 55.5 on the spread.
Oh, I'd go the under. I don't think they break 50. Eagles defense is really good. Baltimore's defense can pass on them, but they're good otherwise. You're going to play all your Eagles though. Hurts,
every single
Barkley,
one.
AJ Brown,
plays, play him.
Devontae Smith. He'd be the only one I'd be on the fence about. And I said that still going into that, like,
there's still no real update on him, so you got to really keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I would probably shy away from him, especially with so many Thursday games. At least
Depends
this
on
week.
Who you have.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I would play Jaden Reed over Devonta Smith.
Yeah, I guess. Not happily about it.
I might play Jalen Waddle over Devontae Smith.
Again, not happy about it, but maybe.
Dallas Goedert.
No bye weeks. You could play him if you need to, but expect his floor is like 5 to 6. His ceiling is 12.
If Devonta Smith is out there, I am less willing to put Goddard in my lineup.
I mean, Smith didn't play last week, and he only finished with 4 for 19. So I don't think it really affects him too much. If Smith is out there, I think he'll be fine on the lower end level tight end regardless.
Baltimore, tough matchup for those receivers.
Yeah.
Quinyon Mitchell,
I was going to say
Cooper,
Bateman had a
DeJean.
huge touchdown last week, but
he did. But,
you can't play him versus Philly.
You probably have to play Zay Flowers though.
Flowers you can play. It is what it is, but Bateman's off the table here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not putting Bateman in. And Mark Andrews, I'm fine with him, but
if you need him,
he kind of is in that range of guys. Yeah.
If he gets a touchdown, he has a really, really good performance. No touchdown, you're looking at like a 4 to 8 kind of performance, which is on those lower end level tight ends.
The Evan Ingram special.
Yeah. It's just Mark Andrews has a way higher % of getting into
Mark Andrews can score, and then Derrick Henry, you're not pulling him from your lineup despite the matchup.
No. You're not even
touchdown.
Looking at it.
The touchdown streak ended on Monday.
It did. It was a little bit of a bummer.
Got pulled back from a penalty. Still at 100 yards, though.
Yeah. 24 carries, 140 on the ground, averaged almost 6 a clip.
What about Justice Hill?
Huge receiving work last week for Justice Hill. He was always involved.
He gets these games. He's in the higher scoring games.
I lied.
That's when they use him.
His receiving touchdown was called back. His rushing touchdown was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one called back, but his rushing touchdown was...
The high over-unders, that's when Justice Hill's involved, when they have to pass more. So you could mess around with Justice Hill this week, I think. If you're weak,
it's the high scoring games like Tampa Bay. He had 15. The Chargers, he put up almost 20. Buffalo, he put up 21. Oh, man, but I'm not really. I would start Jalen Warren over him.
Yeah, I agree. But
he's on the market in like 50% of the leagues.
If you're weak at running back or you went in with a 0 RB strategy, I think Justice Hill could be an okay guy.
Yeah.
Who wins?
Philly.
Yeah, Nick's going to pick Philly. He always does. This feels like a game Baltimore loses. They're so hard. They're so hard to read because this also feels like a game where Baltimore wins.
In my head, it feels like a game Baltimore wins more than they lose, but Baltimore they've been too questionable lately. Like Philly's just been so solid since the bye, and they've just been killing it. Defense, offense, they're just a really consistent team. It wouldn't surprise me if Baltimore wins. Like it really wouldn't.
It's a toss-up for me, and usually with toss-ups, I lean who's got the better quarterback and who's better coached, and I think that favors Baltimore. So I'm going to go with the Ravens, but that's the toughest game to pick this week.
It's the best game of the week. It's going to be amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so looking to the 4:25 Philly-Baltimore game. It's going to be great.
Yep. Sunday night, San Fran travels to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Bills are 7-point home favorites, over under a 44.5. Brock Purdy didn't play on Sunday, and the Niners couldn't do anything offensively whatsoever.
He is out there throwing, but he did that last week, so you have to watch out.
Yeah.
He practiced limited last week towards the beginning, and then they sat him later. But
if Purdy's not out
it's
there, the Niners don't stand a chance. If Purdy
as
is
much
out
as
there,
I hate to say this,
they can hang.
I don't like Purdy particularly as a franchise quarterback. He made millions of dollars last week, 100%. He got the bag last week just because they were seen how inept this team is without Brock Purdy. This team was trash without Purdy.
Like
Purdy's not a great quarterback, but Purdy's a great game manager, and he can handle all of these weapons. He can spread the ball around.
You playing any Niners if Purdy's not out there? Sans Christian McCaffrey? George Kittle. Yeah, you're not going to.
Kittle's a lock every week.
Kittle.
You have to. Yeah, Kittle's a lock. He's one of the best tight ends of football.
Best tight end in points per game for fantasy. He's tight end 2 on the year.
Just McCaffrey, based off who he is. I'm cool with McCaffrey regardless if Purdy's not out there. But none of the receivers if Purdy's not playing.
No, I agree. And it's tough to throw in Buffalo.
It's so hard. Buffalo's got a good secondary.
If Purdy is out there, oh man.
If Purdy played, I'm cool with Jennings.
Debo though.
Debo's a huge question.
He feels like I don't know. I don't think I'm playing Debo. I mean, it's probably hard to bench him, but he's not a guy you can be confident in right now, with or without Brock Purdy.
I agree, dude. Like last week, Ricky Pearsall played in 67% of snaps. Debo Samuel played him 67% of snaps. So it's something you got to really watch. Like Ricky Pearsall was getting targets that Debo should have got like in the past. So it's kind of a toss up. And I don't want to like put it out there, but it kind of seems like this offense is fading Debo out, and he might not be there next year.
Yeah,
they paid Ayuk a ton of money.
I think they
got
Juwan
Jennings. They drafted a first for Ricky Pearsall. It kind of looks like the receivers next year are going to be Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall,
Juwan Jennings. Debo Samuel, you are a Baltimore Raven.
Kansas City Chief.
Oh my God, I love Debo Samuel, and I'd be calling him a top 10 wide receiver next year, even though it's not warranted.
Him and Rice would be nasty together.
Yeah. Buffalo side, James Cook, your start of the week. Great play.
Oh yeah, dude. Great play.
The receivers, I think you can mess around with Khalil Shakir in full PPR. Definitely.
I was gonna say Shakir in full PPR is the one that I am locking in out of all these receivers.
Amari Cooper, it's tough to play just because we haven't seen him fully utilized here, but they had the bye week, so maybe we see him and Dalton Kincaid if you're still playing him.
You can play Cooper.
God bless you, but
Cooper's an elite talent, like real life. Cooper's an amazing football player. At some point, it's going to click here with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So it's just going to.
Buffalo wins this game, though.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Buffalo
with or
all
without
day.
Brock Purdy, they win. Buffalo,
I agree.
To me, the second best team in football, it's Detroit, Buffalo, Kansas City, Philly, and Minnesota. They're the top 5.
This guy just gave out a power ranking. I thought we'd save that for the end of the shows. Okay.
I honestly thought this was the last game because my screen's not scrolled, but there is a Monday night game. And
we got a Monday night game, brother.
Cleveland plays Denver. The Broncos are 5.5 point home favorites, over under of 42. Bo Nix is
God bless
football. Start him.
Hell yeah, brother.
Lock him in your lineup at this point. Cortland Sutton.
You have to start Bo Nix at this point because they don't have a run game. Like, regardless of who their backfield is,
it was Jaleel McLaughlin this week.
I don't care who it is.
I know.
You can tell me they signed someone on free agents and it's going to be that guy. But no, Bo Nix is still going to get touchdowns.
He's the guy we said it's never going to be Jaleel McLaughlin, and it was
true.
This week.
That is true.
Like
that is funny.
There's zero reason to roster a Broncos running back. All three of them
agree.
should be on your waivers. It's Bo Nix, it's Cortland Sutton. That's it. Like I'm not messing around with Devon Vele or anybody else at that receiving game. They cut Greg Dulcich today.
I think you can look at Vele if you need someone. He's had three straight games in full point PPR over double digits.
But would you play him over MVS?
No. But I'm saying
either.
if you need a start, you can play him.
Okay.
He's going to get you 8 to 12 points.
Yeah. And then Cleveland, with Jameis there, Jerry Judy's freaking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a game for him. You know he wants to come out here spitting fire.
100%. This is the revenge game of all revenge games.
Yeah, who knows with Cedric Tillman? He had a concussion. He's questionable with Monday night. He's not worth risking having to, pivot to potentially Devon Vele because you want to play Cedric Tillman. I think you're just good sitting Tillman on your bench this week, and then David Njoku, put him in just because of the tight end position. But he hasn't been spectacular. He dropped an open touchdown. But he's a fine play.
He was 1 for 9 last week for Pittsburgh. Luckily, he got the 2-point conversion to save to almost get 4 points.
Do you play Nick Chubb though? 2 touchdowns against Pittsburgh.
If you have to, you can. Though he still ran like shit, dude. He had 20 carries for under 60 yards.
Yeah.
He's a flex option, like a low end RB3 if you really have to get him out there.
Him or Rico Dowdle?
Rico.
Okay. I agree. And then
I would go Nick Chubb over any Denver back without a second guess.
I'd play fucking Kenneth Gainwell over a Denver running back at this point. He's always on the field for Philly.
Probably not Javonte. I'd probably play Javonte, but the other guys, yeah, probably.
What are we talking about?
Oh, man.
That might be the first time Kenneth Gainwell's got a shout out on the podcast.
It might be, to be honest. God, give me Denver, though. They're just a good team.
I agree. Denver wins this game. All right, power rankings. You know mine. Detroit, Buffalo, Kansas City, Philly, Minnesota.
So mine would go Detroit 1, Buffalo 2, Philly 3, Kansas City 4, Minnesota 5.
Okay, so same 5.
Yeah.
All right.
It seems they're a really good 5 teams. Like Minnesota's on the cups, but those 4 teams I think are all locks. The top 4.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, let's end this mega stuffed episode up with our prospect spotlight.
Ooh, prospects, baby boy.
You want me to go first, or do you want to start this week?
You can lead it off.
All right, I'm going with Penn State tight end Tyler Warren. This dude is huge. 6'6", 261 pounds. He's also just he's not just like a straight predictable tight end. Like, he can block, but he is incredibly athletic. 3.1.2 yards per route run. He's got a 75% success rate in contested catches. He doesn't really drop the ball. He's a great receiver. He's the second graded receiver according to PFF this year. Mm-hmm. His run blocking has been down this year, but he hasn't been asked to run block. They're utilizing him more as a wide receiver. And his snap numbers are wild. He's played 27 snaps at tight end this year, or not at quarterback. 27 quarterback snaps. He's lined up 52 times in the backfield. He plays slot. He can play out wide. He's lined up at center once, and he's done 2 kick returns. Like, this dude's a huge version of Taysom Hill. Like, imagine Taysom Hill on steroids. You got Tyler Warren, and like his stats this year are incredible. And we'd be talking about him way more in terms of just like how great of a prospect he is. But we have another good tight end prospect out of Michigan in Colston Loveland. And then Harold Fanning Jr. out of Bowling Green is going to break the tight end record for receiving yards. So like Tyler Warren's sliding under the radar, but he's been great. His numbers this year, I'm pulling them up. Okay, I don't want game logs. Thank you.
The tight end class this year, though, it's stacked. Dude. Like, I love it. I was actually going to pull a tight end, but when you said you were doing a tight end, I pulled my tight end off the board.
In 11 games, 75 catches for 910 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's averaging 12.1 yards per reception, which is actually down from his previous years where he's averaged 12.4, 12.3, and 12.2, but his numbers have all increased. He had 422 yards last season, but he was blocking way more. This year, they're actually asking him to do it all. He's got 18 carries for 157 yards and another 4 touchdowns on the ground. So 9 total touchdowns. He's got over 1,000 scrimmage yards on 93 plays. He's averaging 11.5 yards per play that he gets the ball. This dude, to me, is a first-round pick. I would love to see him in Los Angeles with Harbaugh. Justin Herbert, maybe he's the alpha, like Brock Bowers. And maybe like next year we're talking about Tyler Warren as tight end 1 in fantasy football to continue the trend of rookie tight ends. But Tyler Warren is an absolute baller for Penn State. Like they got a winner here, and he's a first-round pick in my eyes. He's my tight end 1.
Yep. He is. He might not be my tight end 1 come early boards, but you love him, dude. Like the more you watch him, you just fall in love with a guy that can do anything on an offense. He's such a key for Penn State right now, and like they're thriving off him. They're using him everywhere. Yeah, they're using him so well. That's a well-coached team, and they're using that guy the right way, and that's what you love to see. They're building their system around him.
Yeah, if you just want one Tyler Warren play, go to the USC game. He snaps the ball to Drew Aller, and then he runs the route and makes the touchdown catch. It was an incredible play. College has weird rules. Don't ask me to explain why that was legal, but just check out Tyler Warren. He's got huge prospects here going into the NFL. I love the kid. I think he's going to be a superstar.
Yep, I agree. I'm going with a guy that is the top of my board as well in a position, and it's offensive tackle, and it's Will Campbell, LSU, 6'6", 324. He's a dog, dude. He is, what do I got out here? He's got great power that's going to translate to the NFL. He moves bodies. He's so quick. He gets to the gaps so fast. His pass blocking is elite. I'll get to numbers in a little bit. My weaknesses are he plays a little bit high pad length, so you can easily get the leverage. And the arm length for a 6'6" guy is a little bit concerning for a guy that plays tackle. But 2023 pass block snaps, 491. He led up 0 sacks. 2024, he's already played more passing snaps, 518. There's still games to play, 0 sacks again. 2 years in a row, almost 1,000 pass snaps, 0 sacks. And he has elite quarterbacks behind him doing this as well. So it's huge. And run block snaps, he's doing over 300 last year, gonna do 300 again. He plays in 800 offensive snaps back-to-back seasons. He's a dog. He's a mauler. He's an offensive lineman you can build around for the next decade. I fully expect Will Campbell to be called in the top 12 of the NFL draft this season. He's my offensive tackle 1, and he is going to be tremendous in the NFL. Fully expect all pro tags on Will Campbell at some point. I love him, dude. I think he's an anchor piece on the offensive line.
Yeah, he could also slide in the guard, which could, if teams are worried about the arm thing, like Peter Skoronski a few years ago.
I don't expect him to. He hasn't played a single snap.
But
I think he's a tackle.
I was listening to a podcast and they brought up that like a lot of NFL insiders think Campbell could end up at guard, and
that'd break my heart.
I think that's the case for most of the tackles in this class. Like Kelvin Banks Jr., who's my tackle 1 from Texas, I think he can line up as guard as well. I think the only one you're not really putting at guard is Ariante Ursary from Minnesota, just because he's 6'6", 350. He is a brick house. But Will Campbell, I think he will end up at tackle, but say a team who's got decent tackles drafts him, they could slide him at guard. If one of those and then one of those tackles hits free agency, they move that guy to right tackle or left tackle.
I look at him like Fuanga and Futana from last year. He could slide on the inside, but I looked at both of those guys as elite tackles.
I agree. I hope someone does play tackle, and he's great. He's my tackle 2, and I do think him and Banks are both top 15 guys in this draft.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think Banks is off the board by 14 as well. I think both these guys aren't going to be there come 15. Yeah. They're both great talents. You build around them.
Yeah, Will Campbell, He's really good. I like his tape with Jaden Daniels in 2023 a little bit more than this year, but I think that's more just LSU in general hasn't played as good
I agree.
as they did in 20. But his tape's still good. I still have a first round grade on him.
It's still great.
He's a guy, and I think the flexibility to play in at guard as well will be huge for him. But I think that's just the case for most of these guys. I think that's just going to be the case going forward. It's just because of how important offensive line is. I think tackles are going to end up sliding inside some more than you've seen in the past, where guys are just like straight tackles. But Will Campbell, that's a good shout out there from the LSU Tigers.
Get the big boys involved. He's played in more snaps, almost more snaps than he did last year in 2 less games. He has less quarterback hits. He's got less quarterback hurries. Both across the board, 0 sacks. He's never let a sack up in the last 2 years. Yeah, he's just a guy that's out there going to protect regardless.
And Garrett Nussmeier's not running around like Jaden Daniels,
no, he's sitting in the pocket.
So he's a pocket guy.
Yeah, so he's showing that he can block for mobile guys, Daniels, and then he can block for straight pocket guys. So regardless of the system you're running, he's going to adapt to it. And I really do think he's going to be an all-pro in the future.
Yeah, I like Will Campbell a lot. Tackle class this year, I think it's them too far and away above everybody else, with Ursery probably 3. I haven't really watched a ton of tackles this year. But yeah, Will Campbell, shout out. Tyler Warren, my guy. We got some good ones coming up. And then next week, stay tuned. We'll hit you up with 2 more guys there going forward. This was a long one.
It's mega stuffed, baby.
Yeah, mega stuffed, a little over 2 hours. But hey, it's 2 podcasts in 1 episode. So be glad it's not Thursday 3 hours.
That is true.
Yeah, we really
could have been an hour and a half each episode, but mega stuff just like everyone on Thursday, dog. I can't wait for some Thanksgiving food.
Gobble gobble, baby. Who's we'll end this off. Non-fan. Who's big board fantasy number 1 for Thanksgiving food?
What?
Big board. Rank your big board.
Tell you my favorite Thanksgiving food.
Yeah, big board. What's the most important part of your Thanksgiving plate? What's your big board? Rolls. Okay.
Number 1.
Bread guy.
Bread guy. Huge bread guy. Look at carbs. Overload, dude. What are we talking about?
Man, I'm going to be generic. I'm just taking turkey. Dark meat turkey.
Dark meat turkey? It's got to be dark meat. I agree. It's smothered than gravy, baby. I love ham, too, though. I know you don't like ham, but I'm not a big ham guy.
But dark meat turkey is elite. You give me some good dark meat.
You got to have the taters.
That would be 2 on my big board. Taters.
Mashed potatoes.
Dude. All right, there it is. That's it. Rolls, though. Good shout out. I like that. Sleeper.
Dude, I love rolls, dog.
Good. A little Hawaiian roll. Ooh, Thanksgiving. All right, guys. Let's lock it up. That's the podcast. It's a big one. Thanks for joining us,
baby.
You can follow us over Twitter at @draftedup_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review, share over on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And then shout out Dubby. If you want some energy products, look them up. W.GG or the Dubby mobile app. Use the code DRAFTEDUP for a 10% discount at checkout. There's that beautiful title. And that's the podcast, guys. Thank you for joining us here on this mega stuff episode of the Drafted Up Podcast.
Mega stuff. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Bye.
Good luck this week.
Hell yeah.